and Freak Knuckles, and we're at Pumpkin Hill. You ready? I ain't gon' let it get to me, I'm just gon' creep down in Pumpkin Hill. I got to find my lost piece. I know that it's here, I can sense it in my feet. The great emerald's power allows me to feel. I can't see a thing, but it's around somewhere. I'm gonna hold my head, cause I have no fear. This probably seems crazy, a graveyard theory. Our ghosts try to approach me and got leery. Ask him a question and he vanished in a second. I'm walking through valleys, crying pumpkins in the alley. Didn't seem happy, but they sure tried to get me. Had to back them up with a fist metal crackle. I'm hearing someone saying you a chicken, don't be scared. It had to be the wind, cause nobody wasn't there. I searched and I searched as I climbed up the wall. And then I started to fly, I went in deeper. Let it get to me, I'm just gon' creep down Pumpkin Hill, I got to find my lost piece. I know that it's here, I sense it in my feet. The great emerald's power allows me to feel. I can't see a thing, but it's around somewhere. I gotta hold my head, I have no fear. It probably seems crazy, a graveyard theory. A ghost try to approach me, he got leery.
Yeah.
If you add a little bit,
Yeah.
you can add a little nose to it.
Yeah.
It's real deal when it comes to my name, kid. I ain't gon' let it get to me, I'm just gon' creep down in Pumpkin Hill, I got to find my lost piece. I know that it's here, I can sense it in my feet. The great emerald's power allows me to feel. I can't see a thing, but it's around somewhere. I'm gonna hold my head, cause I have no fear. This probably seems crazy, a graveyard theory. Our ghosts try to approach me and got leery. Ask him a question and he vanished in a second. I'm walking through valleys, crying pumpkins in the alley. Didn't seem happy, but they sure tried to get me. Had to back them up with a fist metal crackle. I'm hearing someone saying you a chicken, don't be scared. It had to be the wind, cause nobody wasn't there. I searched and I searched as I climbed up the wall. And then I started to fly, I went in deeper. Let it get to me, I'm just gon' creep down Pumpkin Hill, I got to find my lost piece. I know that it's here, I sense it in my feet. The great emerald's power allows me to feel. I can't see a thing, but it's around somewhere. I gotta hold my head, I have no fear. It probably seems crazy, a graveyard theory. A ghost try to approach me, he got leery. Spooky up in here, it's crazy in here. We still gon' keep it going, I'm Knuckles. Nobody scares me. Whoever wanted, bring it.
Saltydkdan, crazy. That's what chat says.
Then come step up to the plate and meet your match. It ain't no thing.
Welcome. Wait, we all got to appear on screen. There we are. Welcome, Ultraers and Switchy sisters alike, to episode 6 of the week. None of us are moving.
We're not moving?
Oh, wait,
We're not
I'm not.
moving?
Okay, now we're moving. Okay, sorry. Pretend
Okay.
I didn't say any of that. Welcome, Ultraers and Switchy sisters alike, to episode 6 of the weekly episodic gaming adjacent live stream podcast show. This is Switch to Ultra. We have returned to Monday nights where we belong, and we are now at the exact middle point between the Nintendo Switch 2 Direct and the release of the Nintendo Switch 2. We have now stepped foot into May with only 4 Mondays left before the actual release of the console. And we'll talk about these last couple weeks very soon, as we have to do some new briefing. Welcome to the Switch 2 Ultra family. I'm your co-parent, BHultra.
And I am your co-parent, Switchy.
And tonight we are joined by special guest from hit YouTube video, my personal most chaotic Super Smash Bros. DLC hype cycle, Saltydkdan.
Hi.
Were you holding that the whole you were like, this is going to be a good intro. I got to start with this.
Yeah, I was like juggling it in my throat the entire time.
Chug jug.
I love how he came in person, and I'm still like relegated to the TV. I'm still like the call-in guest.
Right. Well, this is like Salty died in the first act, and now we're looking up to the sky, and he's calling down to us. Salty, do you
Yeah,
have
it's
some
like
advice
Mufasa
for us as we
situation.
go on our hero's journey?
Have
Take back
fun.
Pride Rock.
Have fun. And that's it.
Okay.
Just have fun.
The two things are have fun and also have fun, and don't forget to have fun.
And don't forget to have fun.
Mm-hmm. The whole 30 minutes before we started this cast, you were just keeping that burp in there just in case. We're talking about the Bible a lot.
Yeah, we were talking about well, we were basically talking about how, like, converting people would be a lot easier if instead of like there being Catholic schools, there was like just Catholic anime, like a really like with like a lot of Sakuga and epic like raw aura hype moments, you know?
Yeah, no story, no writing, just aura.
No
and hype
story, no
moments.
writing, just hype and aura.
What?
Uh,
I've
I
always
think
said
that's
that
the
like
exact idea that Charles Dickens had while he
Sort
wrote
of.
The Life of Our Lord.
in hit film King of Kings. I don't know if you guys go to the theater often, but if you go to an animated film over the last month, you'll get a trailer for, I believe, a film called King of Kings. And it looks... I don't like using this as an insult because I think it kind of devalues real art, but I wouldn't be saying it if I didn't mean it. It looks like it's an AI-generated animated film. It isn't, but it just looks like that. Like, it looks like you fed it Blue Sky and DreamWorks and Illumination films, and then it tried to make that. And it's got like a weirdly star-studded all-star cast. And I was like, this
Yeah.
has to be a laundering scheme or whatever. And then I looked up the trailer on YouTube afterwards, and it has a little ad at the end of it that's a part of the movie trailer that's like, hey, if you pre-order your tickets now, you could win a trip to the Holy Land. And I didn't.
whoa.
I didn't get a ticket for it. But I have been seeing movies. As much as I would like to see that or go there in person. But yeah, the idea is that, I mean, this isn't relevant to the podcast at all. I've always wanted kind of a prestige television, like a full, we're going to dedicate hours, each episode's like an hour, to this, of actually doing the entirety of the Bible. I think there's some value there. I'm not even a religious person. I want them to keep all the fucked up shit.
Like Job.
Especially Job. Make the show about
Okay.
him. I'm going to include all of it. All right, let me ask you, Salty. Since what we're gonna do here ahead of this, or at the beginning, the first act of this podcast, and just kind of getting your feelings, debriefing you on all the things we've covered thus far in a not a speed run, but sort of a lightning round of going through all this. Because for us, it's been maybe a year since we've been hearing stuff. Maybe that's a little bit too much because I started like counting down in the summer. Let me ask you, Salty, since we've been very vocal on the show and before it for weeks, if not months, I'd like to get your headspace and thoughts on the sequence of events that I have written down here. Prior to the official announcement of the Nintendo Switch 2 by Nintendo, how much did you know about the potential sequel console, and when did you think you were going to actually hear anything about it?
I mean, like, obviously, I probably learned about it for the first time from like crappy Twitter rumors. Am I allowed to curse? Can I say curse words on this thing?
I hope you
Yes.
can.
Can I swear? Okay.
We're already too
I
deep
learned
in
it from some fucking
some
random
fucker,
Twitter
asshole,
rumors.
dickhead.
And like, it's one of those things where like the Switch was the most successful Nintendo console in like a really freaking long time. Like, no duh, they were gonna do a successor to it. But I think a lot of people had like skepticism because they were like, oh, I mean, last time they did a successor, it did really poorly. But like, the Wii U did not do poorly because it was a successor. There was a lot of other issues there that like just weren't really addressed properly. And like literally it felt to me like it was only a matter of time until we learned about it. And like it felt like there was like rumors like every year about it.
Yeah.
And it was interesting because I was like, shit, are they gonna actually do a successor? Because the Switch has been out for like 7 years, 8 years now. Like that's a pretty long life
eight.
cycle for a console. Yeah,
that's why I
8
think
years. That's a long life cycle for
there
a
was so
console.
much discourse last year because one, we were in the dark, but also like most people assumed there was going to be new stuff, and we would hear about patents on occasion. And I don't know if you guys remember, like prior to the Switch coming out, all the patents that people were always talking about, like the fake NX mock-ups that looked almost
my God,
unplayable.
It's like the
Fun
most
afternoon with my
unplayable shit
Nintendo
ever.
NX.
Yeah, it was like an iPhone except an oval.
My buddy Jorge's in chat saying that Rouge the Bat is not a baddie. That's incorrect. Anyway, back to the Nintendo Switch 2.
You don't want to weigh in on this baddie tournament because I've only been seeing posts. I think mostly by you.
Yeah.
What's the bracket?
Sorry,
at
there
now?
was a Tumblr Sexy Woman 2025 bracket,
Okay.
and I really wanted to ring the votes so that Rouge would win because I love
stuff the
Rouge.
ballots.
But she sadly lost. I forget to who.
Was it Miss
but-
Frizzle?
No, it wasn't Miss Frizzle. Miss Frizzle, sadly, the Frizzle fuckers could not get her that far up the ranking. She went up against GLaDOS, and it was already over.
Oh,
I'm trying to remember who did Rouge lose against, because it was somebody pretty formidable. I knew that it was going to be a hard time the moment I saw.
Well, that's why you had to
the
back your
matchup.
character.
Yeah, that's why I had to back my character. I'll look into that and see who she lost to, because it was an interesting matchup. The final, I do know off the top of my head that the final matchup was between Miss Piggy from the Muppets and Morticia Adams, and Morticia Adams ended up winning. Which I disagree with personally. I was not really a fan of that outcome, like, at all.
I think it depends on like the discussion of, is a baddie someone who's just attractive, or is it someone who like puts out those vibes? No.
Well, it's a Tumblr Sexy Woman contest, which is like emphasis like Tumblr Sexy Woman.
Right.
So it just, I don't know. I just didn't agree with the votes.
I would say that just like, it's interesting that those are the finals, because the defining characteristic, or maybe that's a defining characteristic, but when it comes to relationships for those characters, their main thing is just how much they love their significant other. Like their husband or the person they're fawning after. So it's interesting that those are the top two when they're, they're spoken for. Sorry, ladies. I'm taking.
Well, it's not necessarily about who's spoken for, just who is the most attractive and appealing, like I guess like emotion wise, and how they carry themselves.
Of course.
And I'm trying to see. I believe that Rouge was up against Jessie from Pokemon. That's why she lost.
That is interesting.
Ooh, Jessie.
That is why she lost.
I think Jessie's one of those characters that, like, although I do like Jessie as a character, when people... I think there's two categories, maybe, that might be a generalization, of characters that people find attractive. And I think Jessie goes in the one that people are like, oh, I love when women cosplay as this character, as opposed to like watching the show and being like, man, I love this character. And me and Switchy got to know each other because we mostly talk about Total Drama a lot, and I think Total Drama Gwen is one of those too, where most people, the extent of their knowledge or information is just when people cosplay as that character. Maybe Ramona Flowers goes in there too.
I don't know, actually. I mean, I definitely think I know what you're talking about with Jessie.
Yes.
Not so much Total Drama, but I've never... It's not fun to talk about this. No, it's not like not fun, but I've never been attracted to a Total Drama character, unless you count when I was like a young kid. Like I had a crush on Sierra. I definitely had a crush on Sierra. And definitely Courtney, but that was it. And that kind of subsided, all things considered.
I think the cosplay one applies to Gwen because they're all canonically teenagers. Like that's the crux of the show. So whenever people are like, "Oh, Gwen's so hot," they're talking about an adult woman cosplay, or I should hope they're talking about an adult woman cosplay.
I hope so too.
And doesn't the same thing? I could be wrong. Isn't Jessie? It's Brock that's 15, right? And everyone was like,
Jessie is an adult. Jessie is an adult.
Oh, they are? Okay.
Yeah, they are.
Because, like Tracy is like 15. Ash is 10.
Yeah.
It's
Jessie and James are both adults.
Oh, okay.
I think they're in their 20s, actually.
Azula's 14. It's just like,
Yeah,
Yeah, no.
it's one of those characters that people contextualize where they're like, I had a crush on them as a kid, so as an adult, I like when other adults dress up as them. It's kind of a way to like, I don't
Yeah.
want to say circumvent it because that makes it sound way more sneaky, like they're like we're getting around it.
They've
But-
they've bypassed the creepiness of it.
right, don't worry, I found an out. It's okay.
Guys, it's totally legit. I just like when my partner dresses up as a child character, okay?
Yeah.
Don't quit that.
It's immersive. Yeah.
Anyway, so what I was saying was Nintendo Switch 2. Yeah, that's basically what I heard about it. Rouge the Bat, and then I heard about it, whatever. I don't
Mhm.
even
You've had a very busy schedule, and the Switch
Very
barely
busy schedule.
penetrated your very busy mind.
Speaking of penetrating,
Mhm.
guess what I wanted? Never mind. Anyway,
I mean that's
moving on.
the whole joke. You can't have the punchline and then be like, you know what,
No,
never mind.
I
You
took
can't
it. I took it.
backpedal.
It's mine. I took it. It's mine. Get over it.
Yeah. I do-
Listen. I have a million bajillion subscribers. Your jokes become my jokes through
Oh,
osmosis.
man. Yeah,
So,
I
get
forgot to
over it.
mention the Switchy, but the only way we were able to get Salty on this video is we actually signed up for his multi-channel network.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
We're now Salty creators, and the logo appears at the beginning of the video and in the bottom left corner. And
okay.
yeah, well, our videos won't get claimed. He's gonna deal with copyright, but he also gets 80% of our revenue for videos
Okay.
now.
Lifetime contract, I assume.
Yeah, for the foreseeable
Okay,
future,
cool.
yes.
90% if you piss me off.
Actually, Salty's gonna be the permanent third host, and then as each subsequent episode comes out, me and Switchy will like slowly fade into the background or disappear.
The
It
TV
just won't
each
be our
episode-
show
the
anymore.
TV is a little bit more to the left each episode.
Yeah, out of frame
Until, like,
a little
I'm
bit.
only like halfway there. Yeah.
Well, you were saying, Salty, in relation to Rouge the Bat, if I'm familiar, about like the concept of really backing your character and campaigning for it. I mean, obviously we want to talk about Mario Kart and the Switch too, but I think the main reason, at least for me, that I wanted to start a weekly podcast like this is when a new Smash Bros comes out and like Smash speculation starts up again, because obviously I have a lot to say about that, and I think having a weekly show to cover it would be fun. I don't think they'll ever do another Smash ballot. I'd really like if they did, but it's probably way too soon for that. Like if the game is going to come out the next year or the year after, or maybe the year after that, you never know with these things. I
Yeah.
think doing a ballot now would be too soon. Like they would have had to do it like a year or two ago.
Well,
Yeah.
here's the thing, right? Smash Bros. Like we're kind of at the apex of Smash Bros. As like a concept. Like you see the effect of this with Mario Kart, right? Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is like the Mario Kart game. It has the most characters, it has the most tracks, plus the DLC. It has like so much content that you literally can't compete with it. So when they are developing Mario Kart World, they obviously know that they can't compete with that. So what do? You tear it all down and you try something different, which is why they're doing the whole open world shtick. And do I agree with it necessarily? I don't know. Is it worth $80? Definitely not. But the point is that they know they can't compete with this, so they're trying something completely different for once. And I think that's going to be what happens with Smash Bros. Either there's two options here for in my view, right? And I'm totally not stealing this concept from a friend of mine who also told me, and I agreed with it. So
Shout
I'm going
out.
to like take it into my body and make it my own opinion.
That's where we get all our news from.
This were from that one friend.
Yeah.
But there's two options I could feasibly see this going for Smash Bros. With the Switch 2. Because there's no way that Smash Bros. Will not make any sort of appearance on the Switch 2. If you think otherwise, you're insane. So either one, eventually they're going to announce that it's going to get an upgrade like the other Switch games, like Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, Kirby, and the Forgotten Land, where like maybe the upgrade will up-res it a little bit, maybe make it perform a little bit better. I mean, it already performs beautifully as is, but like, maybe add like one or two small features and then maybe like 5 or 6 new characters, right? It's either going to be that or they're going to make a new game that is just completely like not even close to Ultimate. Because you can't compete with Ultimate at this point. Like you really have to like the amount of money and licensing that you would need to pour into a game development to compete with Ultimate at this point is insane. A friend of mine suggested that they might try something completely different. They might, like, for example, they might bring back a story mode type thing to like really spice it up, have a smaller cast, but have like a story mode that's like, you know, fleshed out. Or they might try a 3D arena fighter for once. Do I want that? No, I don't come to Smash Bros for a 3D arena fighter. I'm just saying that, like,
Yeah, I think
whatever it's gonna
too
be,
different.
yeah, well, whatever it's gonna be, if they're doing a new game, they're gonna try something completely different, or they're gonna have some big gimmick that will make it stand apart, even if they can't match the roster of Ultimate.
Yeah.
That was always
in my perfect little worlds. I hope that they just do an update, like a Switch 2 update, like we talked about before with the other games, because that will just. I already like Ultimate as is. Adding a couple more characters, maybe 1 or 2 extra modes. That's all I would want, really. I don't need a full new game. I like the game as is, and honestly, just expanding the roster that's already there seems a lot more appealing to me.
right.
Especially because, like, I don't think that you're gonna have a game that has like fucking Minecraft Steve in it as a guest character again, at least anytime soon. And I just feel like you're throwing a lot of development in the trash if you just make a new game right now, because like, how long are you gonna have to work on that to like have it even measure up even a little bit?
Right. It's to my understanding that each Smash game took about 3, on average, 3 years of development. Obviously, like, Brawl got delayed multiple times. One time just because they wanted to add Sonic to the game. Like, that's legitimately why they delayed it. And Smash 4 got delayed
And it was
a lot.
worth it.
Yeah. Actually, no, this is perfect then. I don't want this to just be all Smash, but we do have a lot to. How do you feel about Sonic the Hedgehog's representation in Smash Bros? Because this is a very hot issue. Not right now. But
in Brawl. I thought it was pretty good.
okay.
But then 3DS, Wii U, and Ultimate, I think it's kind of ass. I think that it's very basic. His moves don't really have any references other than like the spin dash and the homing attack. I think I feel like, I don't know, the fact that Sonic is in Smash at all, I'm very happy about, but I kind of wish that his moves had a lot more care put into them, like all the other characters, like especially characters from Ultimate. It feels like look at a character like Banjo-Kazooie and like Steve, like every single one of their moves is like a very unique and specific reference. And I feel like there's plenty of like mods out there for Sonic in various Smash games that really prove that you can do that sort of thing with him. In general, only thing he really needs is just a little bit of tweaking to make him like actually like good representation for the Sonic series. But if I could either get that or a new Sonic series character, like if we could get Shadow up in here, I would much prefer getting another rep.
Is Shadow your call?
You could do a lot. Shadow is my call. Like Shadow's my dude. Shadow's like one of my favorite characters ever. I would love
do remember
to see
back
him
in the
Smash.
day that you made a video about Shadow. It was 2018, so it was in the Smash video.
Yeah.
Like, I commented on this, I think.
Yeah, I literally, that was the only Smash speculation video I ever made, and it was immediately outdated. Like immediately after being
He was in the
uploaded.
Grinch League,
I was
though.
like, because the thing is that like Shadow was one of those characters where like there was so many tiny coincidences that led to it being like, oh shit, he might be in the game. And then he got confirmed as an assist trophy like shortly after. So I was like, okay, well, I could go die, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, we'll talk about the prospect of a new Smash game, but the reason I brought up the ballot is because I want to, in the future, whenever that is like a thing, like ask every guest like who their sponsored character would be, like who's the one person you want in. Would Shadow be that character, or are there
Shadow
other
would
non-Sonic
be, yeah,
characters?
Shadow the Hedgehog would be my pick, because I feel like I think Sonic is kind of just like indicative of the Sonic series as a whole. Like he's the rep for like the entire series.
Right.
I think Shadow would be like the rep for like the Dreamcast, if I'm being real.
Okay.
Like that's kind of the vibes that he gives me. Like he's just the Dreamcast, and you know, eventually when they made the hop to the GameCube and like, you know, Sega and Nintendo started shaking hands, and we got stuff like Sonic Heroes and Shadow the Hedgehog on GameCube. Like those were some of the first games on Nintendo consoles. So Same with Sonic Adventure 2. I think Sonic Adventure 2 was one of the first games with Sonic that actually got ported to a Nintendo console.
Yes.
So I mean, like,
Well,
he's a very
console,
symbolic
yes.
character, Shadow. What was that?
A home console, yes, because they had him on
home
like the Game
console.
Boy Advance.
Yes, a Sonic Advance, you know.
But yeah, Shadow was very hot at the time, and is very hot now. I'll be honest with you, I was an Eggman truther for a while, because I'm like, I kind of want to see how Eggman would control in a game like Smash, and also he's the only other character that's been in most of the games. But then I saw the third Sonic movie, and I'm like, oh man, I forgot I really like Shadow, actually. I do want to see him in the game.
He has some really, like, you can do a lot with, like, Shadow's moveset compared to Sonic.
Yeah.
And plus, like, you know, he looks so similar to Sonic model-wise. Really all you need to do is do a couple of tweaks. I mean, they already have a model for him for an assist trophy. All you got to do is just, like, up-res the textures a little bit, maybe tweak the bone structure of the model a little bit, and he's already ready to be, like, coded in. Like, he's right there. I mean, people have done it already.
That's my problem with like a Super Smash Bros. Ultimate Switch 2 edition, is that all of those characters who are assist trophies already in Ultimate have like zero chance of becoming, if they add new characters to just a Switch 2 edition.
That's definitely
I can
true.
see that as being a good reason. I've
That's
always
definitely
been
true, yeah.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say, I mean, they could easily, like, in the past, I mean, for example, right, like Chrom as a character.
Yes.
Chrom is an ultimate, which I think is just such a wasted character slot. But anyway, Chrom is a character, but he's also a part of a Final Smash. So, like, and both of those can occur at the same time. Chrom could be in a game and in a Final Smash against himself.
It's really clunky.
There are a lot of
really
little
clunky.
things like that. The Knuckles assist trophy can't appear on the Green Hill Zone stage because he's in the background. If you play as Toon Link on the Spirit Train stage, he gets replaced with Alfonso. You can't, Alucard assist trophy can't spawn on the Wii Fit stage because it's a giant mirror. Like, you could just turn off the assist trophy if there are certain, like, variables at play.
Wait,
but
does
I don't think it's
Alucard
likely.
die if he sees himself in the mirror, or does he just not have a reflection?
He doesn't have a reflection, so they just like don't have him. They forbade him from appearing on Wii Fit, so they wouldn't have to.
I guess
It
get
literally
rid of his
probably
reflection.
just slowed down the game or something like that.
to get rid of his reflection.
potentially, I wouldn't know how the actual processing or but yeah, because I think you said that in a video, or you said that in the podcast. And I remember thinking about that. Is that it's like, wouldn't that be like a really fun opportunity to make it so that Alucard doesn't have his reflection? Because that'd be so cool. I'd be all over that.
Yeah,
but
and I haven't tested yet. I don't know if he spawns on Fountain Dream. Because like that has sort of reflections, and I know the infamous thing in Melee is that if they're asleep and then looking in their reflection, their eyes are still open. But in the prospect of, I don't think I'll. It sounds like none of us want a Switch 2 edition of Smash Bros. Am I hearing that right?
Nah, I kind of just want it to be upgraded, but also I just want to say when you're on the Spirit Tracks stage, if Toon Link, if you're playing as Toon Link, he doesn't actually show up in the stage anymore. He gets replaced. So I think that they could easily just do that with assist trophies too if Shadow is in it.
Yeah.
But you know whatever. And also I don't think that anybody would necessarily be like miffed if Shadow as an assist trophy got like removed, if I'm being real.
I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
Also, at this point, I think the game is so big and like Sakurai just does not really give a fuck anymore. There have been a lot of situations where like things don't really line up that much anymore, like perfectly like that. I don't think he really gives a shit.
Yeah.
It's actually funny you say that, because I'm remembering back in 2015 or so, a lot of people thought that Roy, the Fire Emblem Roy, wouldn't come back because there was a Bowser Jr. renamed Roy the Koopaling. And that was apparently a real big ball and chain on Smash Bros. 4 of any chance of Roy coming back. And they're like, this isn't a big deal, and they just added Roy anyway.
Yeah.
No one gave a shit. And I mean, to be fair, I'd rather they do stuff like that. And I guess Chrom, I don't think they needed to put Chrom in as an Echo Fighter. It's like, dude, I mean, Awakening came out 6 years ago.
At that point, it was just a prophecy where they're like, everyone knew he was supposed to be in Smash 4.
They made a joke about him not being in Smash 4 during Smash 4. But what I was saying is that I think, what was I saying? I think I was saying that, like, yeah, I mean, I don't think an assist trophy being a character as well is actually that big of a deal. One thing you could do is kind of graduate Shadow to an assist trophy and kind of implement that whatever he does. I don't even remember what Shadow does because I don't play with assist trophies.
He just does wacky shit.
He just
think,
uses
right?
chaos control, and it makes everything
like
slow down.
Yeah,
some negative zone shit.
I always
Some
liked...
negative zone shit, but it's chaos control, so it just slows everything down.
I always
that's in
liked
the
whenever
vicinity.
I love how the Brawl final smashes, they were just stupid. It's like Luigi just like like manifests negative energy.
Yeah.
But you know what? I'm gonna be honest. I fucking miss Negative Zone because it was fucking weird.
I
it
miss
was
the
a
big
weird
gay
final
dance.
smash.
Yeah, no, exactly.
It was not like a reference to anything. It was a reference to the fact that Luigi has like mental health issues. Like
Yeah.
Happy mental health awareness.
now it's like all of it. I feel like with Wii U and the 3DS Wii U and Ultimate, Sakurai really hammered home this idea of like wanting to pay tribute to every one of the series and not just include them and just try to create movesets. He wanted the movesets to be like very specifically picked. But yeah, no, Luigi having the Negative Zone shit was fucking hilarious. And
the Mario
King Dedede's
finale
Big
was
Gay
weird,
Dance.
Big Gay Dance.
I think
The Big Gay
Sakurai
Dance.
has a lot of weird hang-ups, and like I have nothing but respect and admiration for him. But I mean, if we're talking about the prospect of a new Smash game, and I've heard people say like, well, Sakurai's been working on Kirby Air Riders, there wouldn't be enough time for him to direct this game. And I'm just like, well, what if hypothetically he didn't direct this one? What if we got someone else to do it? I feel like that wouldn't be that terrible. There are a lot of things, and I don't even dislike Sakurai, but like the way Bowser is always represented as a dragon monster instead of like a Popeye-esque bully is a very Sakurai decision. And even like we're seeing, I don't know if you guys have played a lot of the more modern Kirby games, but we're seeing like past Kirby characterization in Kirby Air Riders, you know, from the very little like CG trailer we've seen thus far, and people are worried that Sakurai just gonna dump all the Kirby stuff that he didn't invent. He's like, I don't know what a
people showing him Magolor, and he's like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
Get this out of my face.
Get this shit out of my face.
I'm hoping that there will be
yarn shit.
I'm hoping that there will be some more modern Kirby characters in the mix because like I feel like Kirby has like such a colorful tapestry of characters that don't really like they've only really gotten like utilized in like Star Allies, and that's
the
you know
crux
not a lot of people's
game,
favorite not a lot of people's favorite Kirby game, but like I feel like Kirby Air Raid could be a really good like mix of like, you know, Mario Kart and like almost a Super Smash Bros style lineup of Kirby characters, because there's just so many that don't really get any sort of love like Mario characters do.
Although like the big to differentiate these games, it's also kind of rough that Sonic Racing Crossworlds is also coming out the same year as both Kirby Air Riders and Mario Kart. Mario Kart's main thing is having an open world and 24 people in the race, where I feel like Kirby Air Riders could make it almost like a battle royale game. Like you could do City Trial but have like 90 Kirbys or something. That would be my theory for that game.
That could be cool as hell. I definitely think that like City Trial, like they're definitely bringing City Trial back. It was like the highlight of the original Kirby Air Ride for like so many people. And
what
plus
was
like
City Trial again? I played Kirby Air Ride when I was like
it's sort of like
4,
Smash Run. Like you got to collect all the items and then you use them to upgrade your ship.
I mean, it was the precursor to Smash Run on the 3DS.
Yeah, I think you literally talked about it in the directs. Yeah,
it's literally almost like a kind of mini battle royale type thing where basically you're collecting all of these items and different like rides. Like basically the whole crux of it is that you play in the city area mode for a certain period of time, whether it be like 3 minutes to like 8 minutes, and throughout that time there's various events that happen in the city where like there's either a bunch of enemies get spawned, or like a big boss character gets spawned, or like, you know, various other things like items get switched around or something like that. Just crazy random events. And throughout it you have to get on your star, find a different vehicle, or keep the star that you're currently on, and whatever vehicle you use you have to collect items to level up your base stats for whatever the final round ends up being once City Trial is over. I think that there's like 3 different final rounds it could be, or 4 different ones. It could either be a boss, I think, or it could be a race. It could be it's probably more than 4 things, like a race boss, like a gliding competition, whoever can glide the farthest. Like, so if you have a bunch of the glide stat that you've collected over the time of city trial, you can glide super far and you can win. And there's also just general speed challenges, and also hordes of enemies, like whoever can destroy the most enemies in like a single like 2-minute like game or whatever. Genuinely, I played it again recently with a couple of friends. It still holds up. It's genuinely still fun. I love that shit so much.
Yeah, it's really
City
ahead of its
Trial's the
time. I
best.
think there's a lot to do with that concept. But we also
Which
know
is
very
why a lot of stuff from Kirby Air Ride like ended up making it into like later Sakurai games. The unlock system from Kirby Air Ride, like the whole grid based system, like that made it into like Brawl.
I love that shit.
And also, I think Kid Icarus as well had something similar.
They did
Probably.
actually.
Yeah,
that was
I
on
already
our
played
bingo
Uprising.
card. I think it's like even before last year. It may have been 2023. I remember it being a long time ago. Bandai Namco created a new, like it was a part of their company, but it's sort of not a subsidiary, but just like a studio in their company called Studio 2/Studio S. And obviously now we know, like the tagline of that studio was primarily to focus on Nintendo games, on Nintendo platforms. And now we know what the S and the 2 stand for. And there were like job listings for a 3D action game and a 2D action game. And I would hazard a guess that Bandai Namco is helping Sakurai out with Kirby Air Rider, so that probably is that 3D action game, if you would call it that. Because I don't even know if you'd classify it as a racing game per se. But
what, Air Riders?
Yes.
Or Air Ride? It's like, so it posits itself as a racing game, but it's more of like a vehicle action game, because like there is a racing part of it. Like you can do the racing mode, but I think the highlight of it is like all like, and that's why I think Air Riders specifically is also going to probably stick on, is that there'll probably be like 1 or 2 new modes. I think the only mode that I didn't really care that much about was Top Ride, because it was just a very basic kind of thing. But like, I do think that City Trial proved that like, oh, you can do like cool vehicle gameplay that isn't like fucking boring every single time. Not every vehicle game has to be a racing game. Like
Right.
you can do cool shit with the idea.
just in
And
the
plus-
context of Smash Bros. Or talking
Like
about like
Banjo-Kazooie nuts and bolts, right?
Dude, that was out of its time too. That was like Tears of the Kingdom. I want to genuinely play that because I feel like maybe people were maybe a little
Dude, maybe
too
it's like
hard,
secretly like a really good game.
I think it could
I
be like 3D World
personally-
or Let's Go, where it just wasn't what people wanted, but it's not bad.
I personally hope that Air Riders does not have customizable warp stars. I think that that would just muddy the game a little bit too much. I think it would add a little bit too much customization.
Yeah.
Where like I feel like if there were just specific carts that all had different gimmicks and you unlock them as you go, just like the original game, I think would be perfect. It'd be much easier to pick up and play. That's my only thing about recent Mario Kart games that I wasn't really into. Is like at
thank God.
first I really liked the customizable cart system. I thought it was cool, but then I realized I had to put a lot more thought into like what I was driving and what character I was using, and I just like it didn't hit as much anymore for me, which is why I usually just use the default carts.
Yeah,
like,
I
every
was
single time.
parading in
agree.
the streets when they got rid of cart customization. Like, it's fun in
Same.
Mario Kart 7 because, like, that one has a ton of gimmicks, and beyond the gimmicks doesn't have a whole lot to offer. And then it was there in 8. It's like, okay. And then, like, you know, they released 8 again, and then we were supporting 8. And it's been the style of Mario Kart we've existed with for beyond a decade now, and I'm just ready to go back to basics, build back better, if you will.
Yeah,
I think I liked it because I thought that I was like supposed to like it. You know what I mean? It's like,
It's
oh, I guess
new.
no.
Yeah.
There's like new options, so new options is good. But I think the carts are just less interesting when they're customizable. I think 'cause it's not like, oh, you can pick the color of your wheel. You have to pick, oh, okay, I have to use the tiny stupid little wheels if I want an acceleration build. I don't know. It just never was that satisfying to me.
Yeah.
And I think I prefer just the direction they took with the carts in earlier games where they were just their own carts without anything else.
Maybe it was just me, but as I was building it, I was never thinking like, oh, these are my favorite parts. I'll build a cart perfectly tailored towards me. Whenever it always boiled down to just picking the largest meter. Like whatever parts gave you the most meter, I would just do that.
Yeah, that's basically how I ended up working too. I wanted to ask you guys,
Sure.
what out of the launch lineup for the Nintendo Switch 2, is there a specific game that you're looking forward to the most? Because it's a toss up for me. It's a toss up for me right now.
I think Bonanza too, yeah.
Well, the thing is that I don't think that's launching alongside the console.
Oh yeah.
Then the console from Nintendo has 2 launch titles, and one of them is like a $10 tech demo.
Yeah, dude, my favorite, my most hyped up game is definitely Nintendo Switch 2 Welcome Tour.
Right. Listen, I am gonna get it. I got to see what it's all about. But
it'd be kind of fun to play it just for the meme, dude.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
the
It's
only launch
The
title
funniest
from
memes
Nintendo
are the ones that involve me giving $10 to Nintendo.
Yeah, that'll really own
funniest
them.
meme is like financially supporting
Owning the haters by
financially
giving
supporting
Nintendo all my money.
stupid ass games. Yeah.
If you want to know the launch lineup, I have a list right here. I can read off to you. Obviously, I think the big like major hitter is Mario Kart World.
Yes.
The $80 racing game, which I'm like, Jesus Christ. There's still nothing in that game that justifies that price to me.
I already have save data in Deltarune Chapter 1 and 2 on Steam. So I don't want to get it on the Switch 2, like the new chapters, because I don't want to have to start from the beginning again. Like if I play Deltarune, it'll just be on my computer. So that's already a cross off.
I have to go back and replay it anyway because I never beat Jevil. I forgot to do it.
Okay.
So I forgot to do it.
I can understand why people are excited for. If you're asking me like, oh, games that come out June 5th, like yeah, Deltarune Chapter 3 and 4, that's very much up there. But I'm not gonna play it on the Switch 2. Not really. You know, I'm gonna play it on my computer.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I'm gonna play it on Steam. But yeah, so I'm gonna skip over the Nintendo Switch 2 editions of games because obviously, you know, Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom are gonna be releasing the same day.
Also, if you already have the games, it's just like a $10 upgrade, right? Am I understanding that right?
I think it's like $10 or $20 or something.
Yeah.
I need to know what the features are before I even check that.
Yeah.
You know?
Like I like Forgotten Land a lot, and I'm glad it's got extra content, but that's not even a launch title. That's like July or August, I think.
Yeah. I mean, I'm glad that, you know, it's basically glorified DLC is what it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Mario Kart World, Nintendo GameCube is apparently going to come with launch with Nintendo Switch Online. And that's going to have Wind Waker for GameCube,
Right.
F-Zero GX, and Soul Calibur 2.
Yes.
Oh yeah, I'm excited to play F-Zero GX.
I mean,
remember
honestly,
playing it
like,
when I was like
beyond-
13, and I thought it was really fun. It's
Beyond
hard,
the
it's fun,
games
but it's hard, but it's
themselves,
fun.
I'm excited to like play them with the online, like having the 4 screens at the bottom and everyone's got their shitty webcam. I think the features are more what I'm excited for on like day one. Like I want to find other people that have
like
the
a little
Switch
bit of a
2.
shit about that, and be totally honest with you.
I
think
think
I'm like, oh, that's cool. But
I think it'll be fun for like streaming.
It'd be so cool to like be playing like on Virtual Console with friends, and one of them gets really mad and starts goat-seeing you on the camera.
Yeah, just like that one Uno game on 360 where dudes would just be straight up naked.
Just like, hey, fuck you, and then just flashes their butt.
Everyone does it at the same time, so nobody's looking, but everyone can see it.
But yeah, then there's also Split Fiction is releasing the same day. Cyberpunk 2077 Ultimate Edition, which I heard they packed the entire game on the cartridge, which is insane to me. And apparently it runs well, which is even more insane to me.
Yeah.
Street Fighter 6, Kunitsu Gami, Path of the Goddess, Sid Meier's Civilization 6. Oh wait, no, that's a Nintendo Switch 2 edition of Sid Meier's Civilization.
Yeah.
6 or 7?
No, that's 7. I misread that. I'm an idiot.
Oh, okay. I was like,
Hogwarts Legacy,
Great.
Bravely Default, Flying Fairy, HD remaster. Yakuza 0 Director's Cut is pretty exciting because that's going to be a re-release of Yakuza 0, but it's actually going to have an English dub this time, and I think a couple of new features.
I think
which
that'll be
is pretty-
funnier for sure.
Pretty
but-
cool. I think that'll also be releasing on Steam though. So at the end of the day,
Yeah.
I'll probably pick it up for Steam.
Well, that's the thing with this list is beyond your Mario Kart and your tech demo, they're all games that are coming out elsewhere, or they're like ports of games that have been out for a while. Like I kind of want to pick
Fortnite.
up. Yeah, I kind of want to pick up Street Fighter 6 and the Amiibo because I really like Street Fighter 6. But again, that's a game I've been playing for 2 years now.
Yeah, and then the rest is just, miscellaneous. Hitman World of Assassins, Signature Edition, Nobunaga's
Nobunga.
Nobunaga's Ambition, Nobunaga's Ambition, Awakening Complete Edition, Survival Kids, which I think is the game that crashed the Nintendo
Yes.
Switch 2.
That game actually
Direct.
is a day one exclusive launching on the Switch, so that's an instant cop. It's gotta be that you get to survive on an island as kids.
Rune Factory, Guardians of Azuma, Arcade Archives 2, Ridge Racers, and Puyo Puyo Tetris 2S.
That
Those are
I
all
think
the launch title games.
it's weird
It's a
that
pretty solid lineup. Like all things
2S
considered,
is like the Switch 2 version of that Switch game. It's weird that it isn't like Puyo Puyo Tetris 2 Switch 2 edition. It's like it's the same game but with a different title, but it has features on the Switch 2. It's weird that one was like held out of the Switch 2 edition lineup.
Yeah, I will say this, like I gotta say overall it's a pretty good launch lineup, even though most of the lineup is like ports of previous system games and like upgrades. I think in general the fact that they're launching with a Mario Kart game is like that's gonna be like a system seller, like 100%.
I
like
think
the remember when the 3DS launched and it launched with like absolute horseshit?
Yeah, Steel Diver.
Like no games.
Steel Diver.
Steel Diver.
Dude, Steel Diver.
The best
Steel Diver is
Smash
not
Bros.
gonna be-
item.
I was gonna say the extent of my knowledge about Steel Diver is that Smash Bros. Item where you're just holding the submarine and you shoot it like a gun.
Yeah. I didn't even know that was a Steel Diver reference, if I'm being
Yeah.
honest.
No, it is. Face Raiders.
There's one item that's like, I don't remember if it's the curry or the smart bomb, I think. That I've the extent of throughout most of my life, I just assumed like, oh, the smart bomb that's from Smash Bros. It's like a Star
That's
Fox
Star Fox,
item.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's been grandfathered in as a Smash item for me. I mean, while we're
Yeah,
talking
for
about
sure.
this line, I mean, overall, I think people tend to prioritize quantity over quality, but when it comes to, I mean, what did the Switch launch with on like day one? It was just Breath of the Wild, right? Snipper
I
clips.
think the major one was Breath of the Wild. I can take a look. I'll see if I can find
because there's
it.
stuff that came out within that year, your Splatoon 2s and your Mario Odyssey, but if we're talking day one, like even the Nintendo 64 only launched with Mario 64 and Pilot Wing 64, and that's only 2 games, but one of them is one of the most important games of all time. And you could argue Breath of the Wild is there too, and I'm not going to say that Mario Kart Worlds will be one of the most important games. But, sometimes you only need one game that's really worth it. I mean, I bought a PS5 so I could play Astrobot.
So the launch lineup for the Nintendo Switch 1, obviously the big hitter is Zelda Breath of the Wild. But at the same time, that was also releasing on Wii U the same day.
Yeah.
Obviously I didn't get it for the Wii U. I got it on the Switch because
I knew one guy who got it for the Wii U. I did
too.
know a guy who got it for the Wii U, which is like so funny to me.
These other ones are really funny. 1-2 Switch.
Classic. That's an even more expensive tech demo.
Yeah, Just Dance 2017, Skylanders Imaginators,
That's awesome.
Super Bomberman R.
I do remember that. I remember that
If you were
that game
playing
had
it-
a little bit of a moment because I've on day one when the Switch 2 comes out, I'm gonna go to the eShop and see what like day one games there are that I haven't really heard anything about, because those are gonna be the ones that like, oh, I want to play this. Because when the Switch 1 launched, sure, people were playing Breath of the Wild, but when they weren't playing that, they were like, I want to try out Snipper Clips or Super Bomberman R, which are games that they probably wouldn't traditionally have played. And I think the same phenomenon kind of happened with Bug Snacks with was it the PS5 or the PS4? I think it was the PS5.
I think it was a PS5, yeah.
Yeah, where like it only kind of had bug snacks. So people that otherwise wouldn't have played that game are like, I mean, I got a PS5, I'll play it. And I think that's really fun. And that's kind of negated because it's backwards compatible. Like if you want to play something on the Switch 2, you could just play a Switch 1 game if you really want to.
I think one of the things I'm going to be doing a lot when I get my Switch 2, if I get my Switch 2, I mean, freaking knock on wood,
Right.
is I'm probably going to spend a lot of time on the GameCube thing. Like, I think
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
knowing myself, I'm probably to do some shit like that.
I'm
Soul Calibur?
hoping I do want to talk about the GameCube thing in a bit because that with that announcement we got like a flash of like what other games are going to be coming, and they showed Pokemon Coliseum and XD.
That's true.
Which is insane.
Yeah, no, it really is.
That like the fact that we're getting those games before like Red and Blue is like so funny.
It's weird that
Like,
they're still not there. Like any of
they're
them.
still not there.
None of the main
weird
line
about
ones.
that.
They have to have some sort of Pokemon Home integration, right? Like, I'm not insane for thinking this.
Well, I think it'd be cool
Like-
to like be able to play the ROMs of Red and Blue on the Game Boy player, and then like transfer those into Stadium on the N64. They call them Nintendo Classics now, and then
Yeah.
do the same thing with the GBA games and Coliseum and XD Gale of Darkness.
But also, before I forget, the rest of the Nintendo Switch lineup, a game called I Am Setsuna, Fast RMX, which is like a racing game,
F-Zero.
Shovel Knight, which you know is a port,
Yeah.
and the big system seller. You ready? Snipper Clips.
Again? Oh, you're talking about the Switch one. I was like, oh, they're doing
The
it
Switch
again.
one. The Switch one.
Oh,
No,
right.
They're not doing it again.
Right,
The Switch,
that's-
this is the Switch one I'm talking
That's
about.
what I wanted to say is that they did the same thing. 1-2 Switch and Super Bomberman R sold well because they were some of the few games on the Switch. And then at the same time, like years later, they released a sequel to Everybody 1-2 Switch and a sequel to Super Bomberman R. And they both sold really abysmally because they didn't account for the fact that the reason people were playing it was because there was nothing else to play. So when they made Konami's like, we're gonna make another one of these Bomberman games, they're doing really well apparently. They didn't really account for the fact that it was one of 5 games people were playing when the Switch launched.
Yeah, it's a good point, and it's I'm just being reminded of you know, like especially as a kid, all the kind of weird games I ended up playing on the Wii and the 3DS because I wanted to play those consoles, but I didn't really have anything else to play. So I would like download channels on the Wii, like the Everybody Votes channel,
Yeah.
and stuff like that. And then the 3DS too, especially when it first came out. It's like you kind of play Mario 3D Land, and then you like browse Street Pass for no reason, even though you haven't like matched with anyone. Just like all those weird little bits and bobs that like
The
these
Face
consoles have.
Raiders. I had
the
one, I
sound-
don't
or,
even
like, the
remember what it's
PSI
called, but
sound
you would like
creator or
draw
whatever.
monsters. And the 3DS was the first time I ever did Virtual Console. Like, I know that's such a big thing, the WiiWare, when the Wii launches, being able to play all these retro games, but I
remember
never
saving
did
up
it.
money for WiiWare. As
Yeah.
like a kid, I had to like save up for like Paper Mario.
Also,
on the
in
Wii.
that era, like, putting, at least for my household, like, attaching your credit card to anything is like, I'm not doing that. We would only buy, like, physical games. Like, they would
Yeah,
not
you
let me
don't- I-
download anything.
I had to drag my parents kicking and screaming to let me do that.
I
It was
had to
annoying.
get physical eShop cards because they were scared to put their debit information into the 3DS.
That rules.
But yeah, no, I you know, it's cool, and I gotta say this, right? For a while, I really dogged on Nintendo Switch Online, with like a lot of people did and still do, because I was like, this is not worth the money. The online's not even like on good servers at all. However, gotta say, with the Nintendo Switch 2, I'm starting to think that at the very least, the Virtual Console lineup, like, they actually have a good lineup now that's kind of worth the subscription price.
Yeah. It's what, 60 a year?
Yeah.
That's like one game. Or it was one game. Now games
Well,
are
it
$80.
was 60 a year. I think to get the Nintendo 64 and the other stuff, I think it has to be 70.
No, the Nintendo
Because, like, the
64
expansion-
is 60 a year. The NES one is like 40.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
The basic
okay.
one is just $20 a year. Or
Oh,
at least
okay,
it was
yeah.
for a while. Maybe they brought it up.
Hold on.
Maybe.
NSO expansion pack. Let me see. I want to make sure that we get this right. So,
Y'all think we're getting a new Animal Crossing or a Switch 2 edition? I think
think
it's going to
new
be a
Animal
new Animal
Crossing.
Crossing.
new Animal
Yeah.
Crossing, I think.
Especially
they
with
just
how
seem like-
popular the last one
They
was.
just like, yeah, that especially, but it's been so long and they just haven't done anything with Animal Crossing. I think they want to do something new.
Yeah, so the NSO with like the basic NSO is $35 a year. And the new NSO is $80 a year.
Oh, okay. So
Which is like now for now you can buy a Mario Kart World for one Mario Kart World every year. You can have
yeah.
GameCube.
Well, I was gonna say,
I
whenever
swear to
people
God, if they-
asked
if they
about the
introduce a new
expansion
tier for this,
pass, I would always say like,
I'm-
oh, you know, it's
I'm
the
out.
price of a game. It's $60. But now that price has gone up, but also the price of games have gone up, so it's still the price of a game. It's just the number that changed.
Yeah.
It's
God.
funny. I think I got grandfathered in for $20 Switch Online because that's what I was paying for all this time.
Well, now you're on my family plan.
Now it's literally just paid for.
Yeah.
So chill.
I mean, the family plan is also like the expansion pass. So I'm like, I have all these other slots. I might as well just let other people use them.
So the family pass is $80. The individual pass is $50. So that's a little bit more manageable overall. But I still, it was one of those things for a really long time. Like, NSO just was not worth it at all.
Yeah.
But now it's only just now starting to become worth it for me.
Right.
I and especially because, like, you know, the titles that they teased when they premiered the Nintendo GameCube stuff was like Mario Sunshine, Fire Emblem Path of Radiance, Pokemon XD, Gale of Darkness, Super Mario Strikers, Chibi Robo, Luigi's Mansion, Pokemon Coliseum.
You know it wasn't there?
Melee.
Melee wasn't there.
Yeah, Melee wasn't there.
No, because people who like Melee wouldn't even play it because, like, if you're
gonna go Splitty.
Yeah, there's the issue with Melee is you have to play it on a CRT because there's an insignificant less amount of input lag, and if you're playing it on like a flat screen, it wouldn't. And I imagine if you're playing it on the Switch, like holding the Switch in your hands, God forbid, it would be way worse. They'd also probably use like the fixed version of it, the PAL one. Maybe. There might be another. Because they did it with Mario 64 when they put it in 3D All-Stars. They got rid of so long
like that. Like, come on, dude. Like let us backwards long jump. Just play this. Like, come on. So that's like part of the game.
Ocarina of Time remake for the 3DS, they purposefully kept a lot of glitches in there because they knew that people were using them to speedrun, or they were like glitches that aided the experience that people really liked. And they switched up on that. Switch it up like Nintendo.
I wish that more remakes did stuff like that because I think it's cool. I think it's really cool.
Yeah, especially for games like obviously Mario 64, where there's such an identity to the speedrunning community, where there's so much kind of there's a whole rich culture that comes from the game, and frankly, I guess it's not fully optimized state. To the point, yeah, I mean, there are memes about these glitches. So I don't know. I feel like that's like enough that it's kind of meaningful to keep it as is, at least in my opinion.
It's a part of the experience. And I know that the Switch 64 emulator purposefully does things to make it match that experience. Like something that was lost in online N64 emulators for a while, I think we talked about this before, is that the ending cutscene with the giants lifting up the moon in Majora's Mask, sorry, spoilers for Majora's Mask, is scored, like there's music playing in the background, but the cutscene lags on the N64 like native hardware. So if you play it on an emulator, the song will not even finish playing. Like it only get through halfway through the song because the cutscene is over so much faster. So then on the Switch emulator, the N64 emulator for the Switch, they purposefully slowed it down to mimic that. That's the only real example of that I know. But Salty, you were talking about how early on there was like maybe like 10 NES games that would slowly roll stuff out.
Yeah,
it was absurd.
I know that people dislike.
I still disagree with the way that they roll them out because like it'll be like if, for example, right, this is probably going to happen with GameCube too, where it starts and then they're like, okay, here are 3 really good games, and then next in like 3 months we're going to give you a new game, and it's going to be called Fumpilda, and you've never heard of it before.
Yeah.
And it's a licensed game on a Swedish property that you've never watched before, and you can play Fumpilda on GameCube Online.
And they dedicate like a 3 minutes direct bumper to it.
That's
too.
right.
Oh
Her name is Fumpilda, and she's coming back.
Literally.
And then you're like, fuck, I don't want to play this on the Switch, and you go check out eBay, and it turns out Fumpilda for the GameCube is actually $500.
Like, and no, like legit, it is that Mega 64 skit where they're doing the fake Nintendo Direct, and it's like, that's right, with Nintendo Switch Online NES Edition, you can now play Scrunt.
Yeah. Dude, they still, to this day, I know I'm the only person that cares about this, they still don't have Zoda's Revenge. They still don't have Star Tropics 2. And that's like the major, like, made by Nintendo game that's still missing. All the other NES games are there. I don't know why.
Don't they also have Mother 1 now?
They do.
Yeah.
They released the I forget. I'm blanking on his name right now, and I'm embarrassed because I feel like I would take pride in knowing
Fox,
his name.
Dude.
No, not Toby Fox. That's funny though. something I forget, but no, the unreleased Mother 1 port is on at the NES, and that was a big win.
Oh, Earthbound
That was
Beginnings?
a big win for me. Earthbound
Yeah,
Beginnings,
I played Earthbound Beginnings like 2 or 3 years ago, and I had such a blast with it. It's so good. It's so
I hated it
hilarious.
as a kid.
I played like
yeah, I love it as an
Mother
adult.
1 and Mother 2 and loved both of them, and I still have yet to finish Mother 3.
Well, you gotta wait for
Wow,
them to
really?
officially release it, so you can play it through
Yeah,
the proper
yeah,
I
channels.
know
I guess
people
I'll
who've
lock in.
said that. They're like, I'm just waiting for an official release. I don't want to emulate. It's like, okay.
Yeah, that's illegal, dude.
It's
against the
like,
law.
all right, buddy.
May I just say, I'm glad the Nintendo Switch Online that they are releasing like Japanese only games, right? Like they have them on the Nintendo, like the SNES, and they have it on GBA Online. They have a Kuru Kuru Kururin, which is like in, I believe in Japanese that one, or is it in? No, I don't think it is. But anyway, at SNES they have some Japanese games, and oh no! The one that's Japanese for GBA Online is Densetsu no Starfy, which is the legendary Starfy series. I love Starfy. I played the DS version, and I fucking love it. And I was so excited when they put it on a Nintendo Switch Online because I was like, oh my god, new Starfy game to play! Hell yeah! Only to open it up, and the game is fully in Japanese. Like,
Okay. So
okay,
there's no like. I was gonna ask if it was like a port or anything.
it is not translated at all. It is just the Japanese version of the game with all Japanese text included. And it'd be one thing. It'd be one thing, right, if it was like a game like Puyo Puyo Tetris, which is very easy, or like a puzzle game that is very easy to get through the menus for. Starfy has a lot of text and shit.
Oh, interesting.
And I can't read any of it.
Yeah, dude.
It upsets me because I'm like, on one hand, I'm glad that they released that so that Westerners can play it. On the other hand, translate the fucking game first.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
what are
Run
we
it through
doing?
a model or something.
I think that's one of the main reasons they haven't released Mother 3 is because they don't want to go through the effort of translating it potentially.
It is predominantly
and also,
dialogue.
And also, they don't want to deal with the well, I mean, because I think translating it, all things considered, for another game in a subscription service that people are going to pay for no matter what, or there's a significant, like, I don't think a lot of people will get the subscription service just for Mother 3, so I don't think there's much of a financial incentive to to translate it, at least for most games. And I think that's a big limiting factor, as much as I would love, a formal, like, official release of Mother 3.
A couple years back, it must be a while now, if I was living with my family, I picked up Pokemon Green from a convention. Like, it was the genuine card, because I was like, oh, cool, this is the one that wasn't released in the West, or at least not really. Because I already have Blue and Red, like, oh, I want to play Pokemon Green. And I was like, you know what, I understand Pokemon for the most part. I could probably, like, make it through this without speaking or reading any Japanese. But the way the bag works in Gen 1 Pokemon is that there are no different pockets of the bag. It's just all of the items in one bag. And as soon as I got the cut HM, I was like, I don't know which one of these is cut. I don't know how to, like, I didn't know what Pokemon had what moves. I could, like, look at the animations and be like, okay, that's Tackle. But at that point, I just got fully soft locked right in front of Surge.
It just sucks because, like, there's been there are fan translations of the original Starfy games and a bunch of Japanese exclusive games online. Like, what is stopping Nintendo from doing that? Like, I understand it would take money, it would take resources, but, like, these games have been out forever, and I assume that they're much easier to develop for than, like, the AAA, like, Mario Kart world. Like, I doubt that it's going to take too much off of their back end to translate some of these games and localize them.
Who is behind porting the games to the soft? Because they have to have a team dedicated to doing that.
Yeah, I mean, they already have a team that's working intimately with, like, these like ISOs and ROM files of these games. So, like, I'm just wondering, a part of me feels like maybe they just don't have the tech to translate these games anymore. Like, maybe they just don't have any official tools for it. Like, that's what it feels like to me, because I don't know. I mean, like, the thing is that they would have to, like, I think they would have to resort a lot of the time to, like, looking online for, like, unofficial ways of doing it, and I don't think that Nintendo wants to do that. I think that they want to build, if they're gonna localize a game, they're gonna want an official way to legitimize their process. They're not gonna want to use, like, ROM hacking tools that they can get from the internet. They're gonna want to use legitimate tools that they make themselves, and maybe that is the problem, because
It's good that
emulating something is one thing, right? Like emulating a hardware on like a new piece of hardware is one thing, but like going into a game's code, like an older game's code, requires certain tools to be made, and I just don't think that they want to make those tools to like edit those things at this point.
And
I don't know.
Requires
and
infrastructure.
even historically, the process of localizing games is logistically difficult. I mean it's been a few years since I read about this, but I remember the game Xenogears, which is kind of seen as what caused Square Enix to start giving a shit about how easy their games are to translate, in terms of not just the text, but also the infrastructure of text changing the game. Is that the guy who had to translate Xenogears basically just had a giant spreadsheet. And, he didn't really have many tools to change text boxes or add new text boxes or anything. He just had to fit as much as he could in these small boxes. And it's like, because Japanese and English are very, very different languages, obviously. It's not like I'm telling you guys something you obviously know.
What?
But one big thing is that hiragana, which I think is the main alphabet they use, there's usually fewer characters than there are in English language, in the English language. So because of that, when you have a text box in hiragana, that can often be like 2 or 3 text boxes in English. So there's just it's a nightmare doing it without proper support. And nowadays, I think there are more tools that are given to developers, especially because people now see localizing their games across the world as a valuable pursuit. But that is not easy to do, and you often have to make infrastructure for it to be done in a pleasant and not like in a way that doesn't make you want to pull your hair out. So I guess that's all to say is that breaking into a game and kind of finding a way to translate it in a way that comes off as professional. I think that's a big thing too, is they kind of would want it to feel like a professional release, and they would want to get rid of all the Japanese. Something is just something they're not willing to do.
Yeah, I feel like Nintendo is very purist when it comes to a lot of these older games. Like when it comes to like Mother 1, the only reason why it ended up getting released in English is because
absolutely
it existed. Like it was fully translated. Really nothing was done. Everything in Mother Beginnings or Earthbound Beginnings, which is what it's called here, everything about that release is like that they did that ages ago. It just never shipped.
Wasn't that the same case with Star Fox 2? Is that they finished the game, but then the N64 was coming out, so they're like, let's just not release it.
It's funny because we're kind of talking about that whole conversation has kind of come up recently in recent weeks, because there's been talk a lot about game key cards and the expenses of shipping out physical games, and the price of the Nintendo cartridges. And that's why a lot of third-party developers specifically would rather just give you a fucking download code or a little key that tells your system that you can play the game. Because they there was a point in time where they would completely create games for localization and then just kind of think about the price of mass producing the game, and they're like, yeah, it's not worth it. Let's just stop here.
If anybody in this if either of you are interested, or anybody in chat is interested in game localization, there's a really, really good video online called Line by Line Translating Majora's Mask. It's a documentary, and it's by this YouTube channel called the Hyrule Journals. And it is just a full documentary about the guy who localized Majora's Mask.
I'd love to watch that.
His struggles localizing. It's a really well done documentary. It's like 30 minutes. Really cool watch if you like the game, or just interested in localization. But it's just called Line by Line. Line by Line Translating Majora's Mask. So definitely look it up.
No, I want to watch that. I haven't seen that yet. Normally I hear about videos like, I already got it, man. My crowning achievement, there's a lot of things I've done on the internet that I'm incredibly proud of, but the one platform I don't even use, my Blue Sky account, the little feather in my cap, is that I'm followed by Knob over there. Knob is the guy that I think translated at the very least the GBA and DS Pokemon games like into English, and he was like a huge user on like the Something Awful forums, and that's why there's so many memes or leet speak within generation 3 and 4, like very specific references. Like in Diamond and Pearl, when you go by that one kid who's like, dude, I'm gonna totally pwn you. Like, not that was like unclear language at the time, but like he was very clearly like the equivalent of like a memer, and they're like, I'm gonna put stuff in this game. I don't know if he
that
knows who I
scene-
am or why he's following me, but I bring it up at every opportunity I can.
It's like the Doge line in A Link Between Worlds.
I mean,
Yeah,
shit,
like-
dude, I'd bring that shit up all the time if I saw that guy follow me. I'm like, oh my god, you're like a god to me.
Yeah, but it's all
Like, you
like
know?
that's another example of you just when you're translating and you're like, well, I could just add whatever. They didn't, not that they didn't care, but there were a lot less litigious after a certain point or before a certain point. I mean, there are a crop of characters that have almost entirely different characterization in America than they do in Japan, and we see a lot of that discourse with like Cloud Strife, where they make him say like "Let's Mosey" and fun stuff in Final Fantasy VII, and then in the remake or Kingdom Hearts, because they're developed by Japanese developers that use his more moody characterization in the Japanese version, there's like a whole subsect of people who are like, this isn't Cloud. Cloud doesn't act like this. When like in actuality, the way he is in like Advent Children, like that was always the intention. And Salty, you'd probably know more about this than me, but I'm pretty sure like the reason Sonic in Sonic Adventure says like, oh yeah, this is happening, is because there was like some kind of Japanese slang or like ism or saying there that could not directly translate. So they're like, I don't know, let's put something. What's comparable here?
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's what. Yeah.
What's
happening? This is happening is basically just, it's not a direct translation. It is local. It's localized dialogue, because the original phrasing in Sonic Adventure was just, they could not directly translate it without it being confusing to English speakers. And speaking of Sonic, fun fact, I love telling people this because I found this out recently. Yeah, Rouge the Bat's naturals they're real.
They're
natural.
all
No,
real.
I'm just kidding.
Do they tell you that? And like, do they say that? And
Yeah, it's in the credits.
This
This
is
is
a part
special
of, this
thanks.
is a part of the Sonic Encyclopedia. There's an entire page dedicated
Did you
to it.
know Rouge's big
but,
naturals in Sonic Adventure 2 are actually real?
Localization wise, something I found out recently that I thought was really interesting is Espio the Chameleon from Sonic. In America, he's very like stereotypically like he's like the character that's like cool, calm, collected, like ninja type. But in Japan, the way that he is written, it comes across more like he's like pretending to be cool and he's pretending to be a ninja. Like apparently he speaks with a certain sort of dialect and slang where it makes it sound like he's trying to sound like this like dignified ninja, but like he trips up and he doesn't say things correctly. But in America, that just doesn't translate over. Like Espio is just a cool, calm, collected ninja dude in America. So I found that so interesting, and I feel like is that me saying that like localization is bad? No, but there are fundamentally sometimes incongruencies with certain things that either don't transfer well or can't transfer well. And I'm sure that there's a way that they could have done that with Espio, but because Sonic in America is like so much bigger than it is in Japan, a lot of the like localized stuff that may have changed during localization to America just became the canon versions of the characters because it's so much popular over here than it is in Japan, which is
really
its country
funny.
of origin. It's so funny, dude.
Right.
I went to Japan. There was barely any Sonic stuff anywhere. I had to actively search for it to even get a sliver of it.
I know what you mean, but it's also funny to be like, man, I went to Japan. They didn't have any anime anywhere. Like, what the heck? This isn't anything like it's. It just like
Where are the
accidentally sounded
subtitles?
like one of those.
I mean,
It's
dude,
like,
here's the thing, right? Like, we joke around about it, but when I was in Japan, I saw Chikawa everywhere. You know Chikawa?
I do not.
The fucking that's the thing. It's only a big thing in Japan. It only just started coming over here a little bit. But it's like a Hello Kitty type character. But like in Japan, I saw like stuff like Mario and anime like fucking everywhere. It was everywhere I went. And I went to multiple different places. I went to like Hiroshima, Tokyo, like Osaka. We were all over,
crazy,
and I saw it everywhere. It's just very popular over there. But Sonic, no, Sonic is not at all.
Depending on who you ask, it's not super popular here. It's coming around though. I feel like we're riding a new wave.
It had a rough transition to 3D.
To America.
Sonic had a rough transition to feminine. Sonic had a rough transition to female.
Don't we all?
Don't we all?
Have you
He
guys
transitioned into
heard-
Fompildo for the N64. The people yearn for more Fompilda. But what I wanted to say forever ago, well, one is that...
Sorry, I swerved way too hard to the right during this conversation. My bad.
There were like little things that I wanted to say that I'm like, oh, this is important to what we're talking about right now, but also like not important enough to be like, I gotta interrupt this guy to say that Kururin is another example of like an item I thought was just a Smash Bros. Item until before I learned it was like a real thing.
That game fucking rules, by the way. Have you played it?
I have, yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, I highly suggest like not only playing that game, but try to play with friends with the Nintendo Switch Online. Like playing. I gotta say this: they need to add more Game Boy Advance games to Nintendo Switch Online because some of them have such good multiplayer things, and I have never been able to play them because of the fact that you've had to be playing locally and everybody had to have the game. I know that they have I think they have 4 swords now, right? They have Legend of Zelda DX Director's Cut with like 4 swords in it, and they also have Kirby and the Amazing Mirror. I still need to play Kirby and the Amazing Mirror with friends because
Salty. Listen, if you ever need someone to play Kirby and the Amazing Mirror, I got this family plan.
I may, but the problem is that I have some friends of mine that are really big Kirby fans, and they also wanted to play it. And I've never got that. That's one of the rare times that I've not played a game because it had such a big multiplayer focus, and I didn't want to play it without playing with friends.
There is a bunch of games like that, like the Sackboy game that came out not too long ago, the more like 3D platforming one. I had fun with it, but you could tell it was very much like sort of like New Super Mario Bros. Wii. It's like, yeah, you could play it by yourself and it's still a decent game, but it's definitely built around like 4 people on a couch playing it together.
Dude, I've never enjoyed the Mario Wii New Super Mario Bros. Multiplayer.
I remember when I was a kid, I enjoyed it, but I don't know if it holds up at all.
Even as a kid, I hated it. I think I just hated the collision.
I was so
like you're always
bad
bumping into people, and it's like it especially for hard levels. When you play with someone that kind of sucks, it gets frustrating. And also, if they don't suck and you're both good at the game, it still is annoying because you're bumping into each other. And for harder levels. It's like you're kind of literally making it worse for each other.
For the first day, I tried to make my roommates play Mario Wonder with me, and a little bit of Sonic Superstars, but that never ended up materializing. Those also were games that came out in very close proximity. Sonic's had pretty bad luck, but earlier we were talking about the very slow rollout of the NES games for Nintendo Switch Online, and I just wanted to say that I know that a lot of people are kind of upset about the UI of the Switch 2 more or less looking like the Switch 1 and them using the same software.
I'm one of those.
But I agree with that, but I think I would much rather them carry over the infrastructure than like start. My biggest fear was that the console, like whatever the next Nintendo console was, even before it was like, oh, this might be another Switch, that it would be so different that like they would start from scratch again. Like the first year they'd be like, all right, we're releasing NES games. You get to play Mario and Ice Climber. Like that was worst case scenario.
Yeah, and I was considering that as a scenario that might actually happen.
And it's entirely possible. I'm glad it didn't. But while we're here talking about Switch 2 launch titles and also just like games that were always hyped up in our youth, there are a number of games, or at least a lot of information that happened in between the last Switch 2 Ultra episode and this one. And I just have a list here of things that are important. Is that apparently Dragon Ball Sparking Zero has been rated in Saudi Arabia for the Nintendo Switch 2. And I don't know if either of you guys have played Dragon Ball Sparking Zero. I only played it for like a day on stream, and I might go back to it at some point. But the main thing, it's one of those, it's one of those fighting games where it being like 120 frames per second is the most important thing to the lifeblood of the game, especially because it's a Dragon Ball game. That it being apparently rated for the Switch 2, and you never really know how much you can trust things like this. But a game like that prioritizes really high fidelity and aspect ratio and also frames per second. It's interesting that they're using it or porting it to the Switch 2 at some point, because it seems like most of the third-party listings from the Switch 2 are focused on like showing that this console is more powerful. Like, you got your Elden Rings and whatnot. Because I'm pretty sure we know that the Switch 2, in handheld, is at least 1080, 60 frames. Am I getting that right?
I think they said that.
Yeah, they did say that. I was going to say, I could definitely see. I mean, if Cyberpunk 2077 can be packed on a single Switch cartridge and run really well, then I think Sparking Zero can very easily
Yeah.
play on that console.
I just assume basically any third-party game that came out like 2024 backwards could and will be on the Switch too, to some capacity.
Yeah, I think that like because Sparking Zero, I was actually able to get working on my Steam Deck recently, where it's not meant to run on Steam Deck, but if you change the FPS down from 60 to 40, it runs like perfectly. So I think like, you know, depending on how strong the Switch 2 is, like it could potentially hit 60, but like at the very least they could probably get it working if they just like make the frame rate a little bit lower.
Yeah. That's just an example of one of those games where people are like, man, if I drop even a frame, like this is unplayable. But there's when I had I still have my Steam Deck, I played a lot of GTA Online on it. Like so much, like that's basically the main reason I got the Steam Deck, is so I could lay in bed and play GTA Online. But the cheating in the PC version specifically got so bad that they implemented a mandatory download called like Game Eye, the anti-cheat software, that isn't compatible with Linux. So with that update, they just made it so you can't play GTA Online on the Steam Deck anymore. So I'm just like, well, I guess I'm just not going to use this really. And there's weird hangups. Like for a while, you couldn't play Fall Guys on the Steam Deck, which is because you could play it on the just the native Switch.
That's what I played on. I think.
Maybe. One of those. I think I preferred the game when it was like $20 and you could just unlock everything. I respect the aspect of it being free to play, that anyone can get it, and now there's like a battle pass, but I don't really love the battle pass format. I'm fine with you having microtransactions as long as you're still able to unlock things in base game. But I hate when games like Multiverses, which is shutting down very soon, that have unlockables that you can only use real money for. And there's like 4 different currencies in Multiverses, if I remember.
Yeah.
I'm kind of partial. Oh, never mind. You can go.
No. You go ahead.
Well,
I don't even know.
You guys talk at the same time.
Okay, I think I'm honestly of the opinion, and I'm kind of okay with skin grifting in the sense that I think a lot of games are able to continue being supported and have long lives because of skin grifting.
Yeah.
In the sense of like, okay, if like we're gonna sell this dumb skin for $20, and if you care about what your character looks like, you're gonna spend that $20. But even if you can't get it otherwise, like I don't know. I mean, I think there are a lot of games that are a lot easier to get into and a lot easier to develop, but kind of get friends to play and that are supported by those kinds of users that buy stuff like that. And there's something to be said about the ethics of it. I can totally get that. I guess I just think to myself that I guess the first example I come up with is Overwatch, and I kind of think it was probably better for them to go free to play, and just kind of use skins as a way to monetize the game and battle passes and that kind of dumb stuff, just so it could kind of keep the game consistently making money, as opposed to a one-time $40 transaction that eventually no one's buying the game anymore.
I don't mind
need to, like,
the ability to buy skins. It's more so that like I wish you could. The options are either you can grind nonstop to unlock it, or you can buy it. And I think that's what Fortnite goes off of too, is like if you don't want to play the game nonstop, you could just use money. And that's why like people really shit on the updates in GTA Online. And as a fan of like the campaign, I can understand that, because they Take-Two put all their eggs in the DLC basket for online. But the way it works in that is kind of like Warcraft, where you don't have to pay for anything new, but you can pay if you don't want to grind. And I like given that option at the very least, to be able to pay if you want to. But also, like, when it comes to online games like that, like, outside of streaming, that's pretty much all I play anyway. So I don't mind, like, a little bit every day just grinding out meticulous stuff when I'm waiting for something to load.
Yeah.
But there's even more games, supposedly. That's interesting, is that apparently Professor Layton and the New World of Steam, which is, I believe, a Switch 1 game, is going to have a Nintendo Switch 2 edition. I don't know. They didn't say outright anywhere that, like, third-party games could have Switch 2 editions. I just assumed that, like, yeah, maybe they'd be, like, up-res versions or something. Though they wouldn't have DLC. I really hold no reverence for Professor Layton. Not because I dislike it, I just haven't played any of them. Do you guys have any more? Have you played this game and the New World of Steam?
No, I haven't. The only Layton I've played is Ace Attorney versus Layton, but it was 9 years ago, and I only played maybe the first 4 or 5 hours, and I just kind of stopped.
Right.
And I wouldn't want to just start my file again, kind of okay, let's see let's figure out where I was left off or anything.
Right. Let's
like
reverse engineer where I was. GTA
Yeah.
6 for Switch 2. This is what Twitch chat is saying. GTA 6 for Switch 2. That's why they delayed Trust. I forgot that
wish.
happened. That's another piece of information that happened between podcast episodes, is that GTA 6 got delayed to next year, which I was already... The reason I forgot is because I was already working off that assumption anyway. There's no way they were
Yeah,
going to release it by fall 25. But now there's
They,
less
they
things
still
I have to play
shown
this
so
year.
little of it.
Yeah. The third game on this... Oh, what were you going to say?
No, I was just gonna say Tomodachi Life 2 is also next year.
That's true.
Or Tomodachi Living the Dream. It's not Tomodachi Life 2. Technically, there's
Right.
a game before Tomodachi Life for 3DS. I forgot
Yeah.
about that.
It's on the DS, yeah.
Oh yeah, it never did. It come out here, or is that just like a Japan
Never did.
release? It did.
It was a Japan release.
Okay, no, yeah.
It did?
Well, no, the DS version was a Japan release only.
Yeah,
and then,
yeah. Right.
Tomodachi Life for 3DS came out here, and then Living the Dream will be next year.
Living the dream. That's another.
I thought Living the Dream was going to come out before Switch 2 for a
I-
little bit, but I forgot it's next year.
Yeah, that and Rhythm Heaven are next year.
God. I'm so happy.
Right. Well, I mean, the beginning of the pod, it's going through the sequence of events of that first reveal, and then the Switch 1 Direct, and then the Switch 2 Direct, and we've talked about it since. I'll just get this third game in before we talk about the pre-orders, but we talked about Dragon Ball Sparking Zero and rumors about Professor Layton in the New World of Steam. The main tagline, I guess, outside Nintendo or tangentially related between episodes of Switch 2 Ultra, is that Yuji Horii was at a Comic-Con in Italy and may have accidentally leaked that they're working on a Chrono Trigger remake for the 30th anniversary this year.
I think that they deconfirmed it. However, when it comes to stuff like this, I don't know if I necessarily trust it being deconfirmed. Because, of course, if he leaked it beforehand, they're obviously going to be like, oh, it was just a joke, guys.
Yeah.
It was just a joke.
There's no footage.
Yeah.
It's all just people who were there saying, like, yeah, he embarrassedly covered his mouth afterwards because he realized he made a mistake. But also, if it's coming out this year, like, they would have to show it off soon anyway.
Yeah. I wonder. I hope it's the case.
Mhm.
Actually, I never finished Chrono Trigger. That's like one of the
I've never
games that
played
like
it.
someone like me really should have played, but I still haven't played it.
This is
I really haven't played it.
This is a topic we've covered on the show before because we had very similar, at least like, not upbringings, but we're more or less on the internet at a very young age and watching a lot of YouTubers in informative eras. That there are this interesting phenomenon, and it's probably going to happen within the coming generation as well, is the loop of nostalgia, where the people we were watching as kids were making nostalgic content for stuff that they were playing or watching as kids. So, like, I was watching a lot of Angry Video Game Nerd or Screw Attack Top 10s or your aforementioned, the guy with the bird. That there's so many of those games that are and Brenofloss, so many of those games that seem so reverential for me. It's like, oh man, Contra, Mega Man, that like outside of those outside of those videos and the people like making those videos, they hold no modern like standing. That's just like a nostalgia that was passed down. And I think Chrono Trigger is one of them, that a game I've never played, but like if you asked me when I was a kid, I'd be like, well, everyone in my YouTube subfeed says it's the best game ever made, so it must be important.
I inherited a nostalgia for things the millennial YouTubers I watched were nostalgic for.
And it will happen again.
I'm seeing it firsthand, actually, because my little cousin, who's 13, I think, he was asking if he could buy like DSs or something from us, a bunch of his older cousins, because he likes collecting old consoles. And I'm like, bro, I was there. I was literally there.
There's just a loop of nostalgia, but also like YouTubers now, or popular YouTubers now who are our age, are constantly talking about Wii Sports. Like it's the best game on the Wii. And now there will probably be in like 10 years or so a crop of children that grew up watching those people and they're like, man, Wii Sports was like the best game ever. I'm not going to take this revisionist history.
Is the best game of my childhood.
Yeah.
You're going to have that in like 12 years. No, more like 7 years actually.
Whatever you grew up with.
The Wii is considered a nostalgic console at this point.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
It
is. And that hurts me, but you know what? That's where we're at now.
We've sort of plateaued. I mean, obviously, like modern games don't look like Wii games, but the difference between a Wii game and a Switch 2 game, and the difference between like an N64 game and a GameCube game, it doesn't feel retro because we haven't advanced from a graphical standpoint that much. Like, not that big
you
of
get
a
diminishing
leap.
returns, I think.
Mhm.
I would argue a little bit on the Wii versus the Switch 2. I would agree with you more so with like Wii U versus Switch 2. Because I mean, there's like Switch 2 obviously is going to run better. There's going to be a few more things that look good, but I don't think it's like as stunning as for example, like N64 to GameCube.
Mm-hmm. That was such a huge leap. There are so mmany games that I don't want to say diluted because they probably are good games, but you're right, like grandfathered in where I'm just like, oh man, I love this game. And it's, an NES game I've never played. However, I think we did bring this up previously before we knew you were going to be on this in a previous episode. Salty, you, over the last couple months maybe, have been playing through the Mega Man games?
Yeah, I played through 15 Mega Man games in the span of right before I went to Japan, a couple weeks ago. Leading into my Japan trip, I played 15 Mega Man games in a row. I played the original 10 games. I skipped Mega Man and Base. I'm going back to it later, but people kept telling me I really need to play that, so I will eventually. Yeah. But I wanted to play through the main 10 games, and then I played 5 of the X games. And it was good. I really liked it. Why do you ask?
Oh, just because we were talking about that. And Mega Man is an example of a game that I never really played, but everyone I watched at the time. I don't know if did you have the same experience as us where you very much grew up on YouTube and had formative years of watching all those people?
You know that joke where it's like, nice opinion, did a YouTuber give it to you? That was me when I was younger.
Oh, of course.
I got all my opinions from YouTubers.
Mm-hmm.
I still get all my opinions from YouTubers.
Right, it's me.
But there's it was one of those things where there's a lot of games that I'm familiar with specifically because YouTubers talked about them so favorably all the time.
I make the joke. Sorry. I think I made the joke a couple streams ago of a middle schooler in 2014 who's really, really passionate about Rareware and Rareware's like Rareware being bought out by Microsoft and what that did to the Banjo-Kazooie franchise.
Mm-hmm.
I was just really passionate about that, and it's all because of YouTube.
Yeah, no, I was the same way. I mean, I have a special connection to Banjo-Kazooie despite never beating any of the games. Because I played it when I was younger, when I was boarded up in a hospital for a while. It was one of the only games that I had. They wheeled in a little N64 with a CRT, and it was one of my favorite games.
They hooked you up to the Banjo-Kazooie IV drip.
Yeah, they hooked me up to the Banjo-Kazooie IV drip. Yeah. It has a special place in my heart because it was a game that I played during that very formative time in my life. Again, never beat Banjo-Kazooie 1 or 2. I still need to do it. However, it was one of those things where that's why I had a connection with it. And knowing that so many other people online loved those games, especially game reviewers, it was oh, hell yeah, I'm in a special little club, even if I didn't beat the games. But yeah, no, Mega Man good. For years I was told Mega Man good, and I knew this because I played a couple of Mega Man games. I played Mega Man 3 and Mega Man 10 when I was younger, and I really liked them. But I didn't beat any of the other games until recently because I was thinking about how much I was a fan of Mega Man, and I was like, shit, I did not actually beat that many of the games. I'm gonna go back and just beat all of them.
I played the first 5, either the first 4 or the first 5.
Mega Man 3 and 6 are I think the best ones out of that original 6 games.
I feel like I have heard
the first one the first one I played was I think maybe I think I might have gotten to the early Wily stages when I was a kid. I think I played Mega Man 2, but I never finished it. I didn't finish until I was an adult.
2's the
it's
other
actually
one
pretty hard, especially when you're a kid.
Yeah, that's what the main thing I've heard is that they're super ass-poundingly difficult. Is it as hard as an adult, or is it just for kids it's a difficult game?
Oh, it's a lot.
It's pretty hard. The first 2 games aren't really balanced well, and that's why they're hard. But 3 onward kind of becomes a little bit more balanced, a little bit easier to play. If you play them, I would suggest playing them through the Legacy collections because
I do have
Legacy Collection 1 has save states and a rewind feature. It's very forgiving. and also like Mega Man 1 and 2 both have soft locks if you don't know what you're doing, that like fuck you over. So just be aware of those. But 3 and onward is pretty balanced, all things considered. They do get really fucking hard at points. Like Mega Man 7 is, first off, the game was developed in 3 months, which is fucking insane to think about because it's one of my favorite games in the series now. But the final boss is like absolutely bananas. It is so difficult. And Legacy Collection 2 has 7, 8, 9, and 10, and they do not have save states. They do not have rewind features. You just have to raw dog that shit.
Oh, wow.
And it is fucking difficult. They have a checkpoint saves. That helps. Like, whenever you get to a checkpoint area and like a platformer and it respawns you back there, you can save and then load from that checkpoint at the very least. But those games will beat your ass without save states. But yeah, no, other than that, really, really good games. I really like them a lot. And also, I did not think that I would like the X games because I grew up on like retro looking Mega Man and I just love the retro type sprite art. But after playing through the games and after playing through the like SNES and like PS1 Mega Man games, they're really good. Mega Man X4, I think, is my favorite PlayStation 1 game like ever now. It's really
that
good.
That is crazy.
Yeah, it's a fucking fantastic game. And I genuinely suggest it to people who are interested because it has 2 campaigns. The X's campaign, which is like the Mega Man type gameplay, and Zero's campaign, which is like sword-based gameplay, and they're both really good. It's a little bit jank at first, but as you get powers, you become like a fucking insane person, like shooting and like slashing your way through these levels. It's great.
I think PlayStation is really missing that kind of our archival system. Like, not to say that Nintendo is one-upping them with it. Weird to use the term one-upping, but they have so many legacy titles in their library, and I guess they would have to go through Capcom as well. But
yeah, I mean, the thing is that a lot of the biggest PlayStation titles aren't owned by PlayStation. They just happen to be on the system, like Final Fantasy, Capcom games,
Crash Bandicoot, I guess.
Naughty Dog with like Crash Bandicoot when that first came out. That's why like a lot of them are cross-platform now, is because they were never PlayStation only brands in the first place. They were only PlayStation only because the system facilitated them to exist in the way that they did.
I know that,
which is why so many of them you can get in like collections now, or like on really any modern system.
Whenever a direct is kind of fluffed up by having like little ports in the middle, like, oh, we're porting this game, and people kind of roll their eyes. I like though the Nintendo Switch, and like moving forward, the Nintendo Switch too, if it has the same online infrastructure and backwards compatibility, kind of you can just play any, if not most, games on the Switch. Obviously not like modern games, but I like that, like, yeah, it just has Kingdom Hearts and Final Fantasy and like a bunch of games that just exist on previous consoles. I'm all for the prospect of like ultimately porting like every game that's important to the Switch at some point.
Yeah, I think one of the best things about the Switch 2 being a thing that I think, I don't know how many people are talking about it, is the fact that the online infrastructure is going to be more or less the same. They might update the servers a bit. I really hope that they do because they've been kind of asked for a while. But however, right, the good thing about this is that Mario Kart World, it's an $80 Mario Kart game. Nothing in the trailers has shown me that it deserves to be an $80 game. However, you can still play Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, which I consider the best Mario Kart game so far, on the Switch. And presumably, Nintendo Switch Online will keep support for it for the entirety of Nintendo Switch 2 Online's life, or Nintendo Switch 2's lifespan, which is probably going to be another 8 years. So the fact that I can still play Mario Kart 8 Deluxe on my Nintendo Switch 2, and I'm not basically locked out of it, and online support is going to die shortly after the Nintendo Switch 2 comes out, I'm very happy about that.
Yeah.
Because with stuff like the 3DS, like when those systems went down, that sucked because we lost such a huge chunk of really cool games, online features. And like, you know, some of them have been revived through fan efforts, but not all of them.
Yeah.
And they're not perfect either. Like, you know, they're doing the best that they can, and you know, it's getting better every day. A lot of those fan efforts are helping the scene a lot, and I have tried them out, and they're very good. But like, we're really just like, what, like when I heard that the Nintendo Switch 2 successor was coming, I was prepping for all of my favorite Switch games to suddenly go offline, just like they've done for past consoles. But the fact of the matter being now is that I really doubt that they're going to be offline because of the backwards compatibility. They would want to keep those online services going.
Yeah.
They have like, with similarly with the Wii U, right? They already have this huge library of consoles. Except the thing with the Wii U is that it was emulating a Wii like system. It had like a Wii system inside of it that was separate from the Wii U infrastructure. But Nintendo Switch 2, the infrastructure is very similar, and it feels like we're just like stepping up instead of stepping to the side to a new system.
And even their software is the same. I guess we could talk about this because it's just like a timing thing. The day of when we were doing the podcast last week, because we were always talking about Switch things, is when the firmware update happened. The title of the stream, the firmware, was it 20.0.0? I think it was, and it was to add virtual game cards and game share. And I think because it came out now because in the direct they said that like, oh, you'll be able to do this by the end of April, and it was the very last day, and like, it's like turning in an assignment at 11:59, like right under the wire. Literally. They did the update. And there's a lot of small changes. Like, I mean, I don't know if you guys have used any of the virtual game cards or game share yet. It is interesting. Like, I got the OLED for the Smash video and then ultimately just started using it on stream as of late. And what I do is I just have my account logged in on both. And before, you could just like download your games that were in your cloud. But now if I want to play a game on one of them, if I want to play the games on the OLED, I need to get the virtual game card from my Switch and like send it to the OLED, and then I can just play it. You still need to download it. But I like the concept. Game share, we aren't able to do any of that yet because it's a Switch 2 exclusive. It's weird that they added it to the hotbar of the Switch 1, but I think, again, they're just doing that so that instead of making an entirely different UI or service for the Switch 2, they're updating the Switch firmware and using it on both. I think it's more comparable to something like when the Xbox Series X came out. They would just keep updating the Xbox One UI, and they used the same UI. Like, they would retroactively do. I think they did that with the 360 as well, that they would update it to look like the Xbox One. And there's a lot of...
I gotta be honest, I hated when they did that with the Xbox 360. I love the old UI of Xbox 360.
I like loading up an old console and it feels different.
Yeah. It feels different. It was very Frutiger Arrow type era.
Yeah.
Same with the Wii and stuff like that.
But
it pissed me off. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. I'm gonna be honest. The Nintendo Switch, let's just say that the Nintendo Switch infrastructure needs a little bit of a facelift, I think, just because the fact that there is no themes except for white and black on Nintendo Switch 1, and it's very clear that they left space if they ever wanted to actually like work on that, like make more themes and stuff. There's got to be themes on Nintendo Switch 2. There's no excuse for it at this point. It's weird that it's not a thing already. Like, come on. Nintendo 3DS had it. Nintendo 3DS had it, and it's an easy way to make some extra money because when it comes to themes, they're not that crazy difficult to develop for. Like, it's just basically just colors and a couple of screenshots. That's all it is. And maybe like a couple of different menu sounds, you know?
I think ultimately it's not underwhelming, but I'm kind of surprised by how much this Switch 2 rollout and release is less of, okay, we have this new console, we're going to make things more. And it's more akin to something like the OLED, where they're like, okay, we have a more powerful Switch. Because before the Switch 2 Direct happened and we would see games like Tomodachi Life and Rhythm Heaven, I thought, like, man, these games are going to, like, this is terrible for them. Like, the Switch 2 will already be out for 2 years. But now, like, we talked about launch titles, quote unquote, most of the games they've been marketing other than your Donkey Kong and Mario Kart have been, like, Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, Kirby Star Allies, Mario Party Jamboree. Like, it is almost just an extension of the Switch, and that's why it's sold out. Like, the pre-order sold out. And we'll probably talk about that when we're done with the update. So you have a unique
And
perspective.
I wouldn't be shocked. I wouldn't be shocked if Nintendo Switch had like their own versions of the games too, like to Tomodachi Life, and or if it turned out to be like a new 3DS sort of situation where like there are new games that utilize the new infrastructure, but then there are still just normal Nintendo Switch games.
Yeah. I mean, we've been watching the
wouldn't be
Treehouse
shocked.
footage, and they've shown as much Metroid Prime 4, almost as much as they have Donkey Kong, and that still is a Switch 1 game. It just has mouse controls on the
Yeah.
Switch 2.
Yeah, and mouse controls and updated frame rate and like
Yes.
running stuff on Switch too. But neither here nor there. I think at the very least they are going to keep supporting Nintendo Switch 1 games for the next 1 or 2 years. I think that
Definitely.
they'll probably still come out with a couple of Nintendo Switch 1 games. And I think that's also to just like kind of slowly convert people. Like they aren't expecting everybody to buy the new console at once. They want them to still be included. And the good thing about it is that every game that you buy in that 1 or 2 years where they're still supporting the Switch, you can very easily transfer over to Switch 2. Like the infrastructure is the same. It doesn't feel like the Wii U where like, yes, it's technically backwards compatible because it has a Wii inside of it. The Nintendo Switch 2 is just an upgraded Switch 1. That's all it is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it's a cool upgraded Nintendo Switch 1. I think it's a pretty big leap from everything I've seen.
Ultimately, I'm just
But-
excited to play new Nintendo games. I don't really care what
Yeah,
they're on.
I am just so happy. Like I was praying, I was crossing my fingers that the sex
The sex symbol.
that the sex I was
The
praying
sex on
and
the
crossing my
Nintendo Switch 2
fingers
is
that
crazy.
when the Switch successor got announced, which ended up being the Nintendo Switch 2, that a lot of the infrastructure would carry over. And I'm so glad that I was right because God, imagine the successor of the Nintendo Switch being like the Wii U, starting from scratch, or being like the original Switch, where like you couldn't play any Wii U games on it, obviously, because the infrastructure was so different, and starting over from scratch, and all of those virtual console games that you poured hours into, you bought on the Wii U and the 3DS, could not be transferred over to the Switch, and like I said earlier, Nintendo Switch Online has only been worth it up till recently.
Mhm.
Like, imagine them making a new console and having to start over and like slowly add in games.
Yeah, that's
again
what we
from,
were
like,
talking
NES,
about earlier. That's
SNES.
why I'm kind of glad it carried over, because I
Me
would now
too.
want to be like, oh, you could play Ice Climber on the Switch too.
I think that we might be at a point, and this might be proven wrong 8 years from now, but I'll throw this out there. I think that we're at a point where like there is no reason for these infrastructures to be so wildly different that you can't easily backwards compatible play shit. Like, I doubt that the successor to the Nintendo Switch 2 is going to have such a different infrastructure that everything before it cannot transfer over in the same way. I think
Yeah,
we're
especially
at the
if everything's
point where we're
online
simply
anyway.
yeah, I mean, like, everything's online, everything's accessible.
It's all computer.
It's all computer. I think that we're at a point where there is no feasible reason why whatever, and this is obviously way in the future, but like the successor of the Nintendo Switch 2 eventually wouldn't just build upon what's already there.
Yeah.
I don't see a universe existing where everything gets thrown out at the end of Switch 2's life cycle and we start from scratch again. Potentially that could be the case just because Nintendo loves selling us the same things over and over again. But like the way that the subscription service works ensures that they will be able to still profit like repeatedly from the same people who are playing these retro games. So in fact, they are technically selling us the same games over and over again. It's just through a subscription service.
Mhm.
So I don't know. I feel like really if Nintendo just keeps building up like this, building on top of itself, I think that they will remain at the top like for a really long time.
Yeah.
I just don't see
That's why so many of the changes in this update are very clearly just to make it match whatever the Switch 2 will look like. Like I have very minute details here, like how they changed the news logo from red to green. They extended the hotbar to like add virtual game cards and game share. And game share is an even more egregious example because you can't even Like, you can't use game share. I think you can game share, like, on the Switch 2 to the Switch 1, but if you're on the Switch 1, you can't game share anyway, at least to my understanding. So the icon there is kind of just there to mock you. The main thing I've seen people rave about is the eShop changing from orange to red.
I'm not a fan of that. I won't lie.
Do you guys see the meme? Do you guys see the meme of like the green news and the red eShop, and it's like the two NPCs in Mario and Luigi that teach the characters the new skills or something?
I also
I
see
didn't see
people
that
like
one.
drawing
So
fan
funny.
art of the little Happy Shop bag character from the 3DS eShop, like being brutal. That's Gore of My Comfort character. But I'm pretty sure that character wasn't even on the Switch eShop, wasn't it? I don't know if it was.
No, I don't think so.
No, I don't think it was. I think the reason that people are talking about the little Nintendo 3DS and Wii U eShop bag with the face is that the last part of that character to exist was the orange tint of the eShop, and they finally got rid of that. So that
Soul
the part of the
soulless.
last soul part of the soul of that character is dead permanently.
Now he can go to the afterlife.
And I'm kind of sad. I'm glad that we get a fresh coat of paint with stuff every year, but I'm kind of sad. I like the orange eShop. I like the little handbag with the smiley face on it from the 3DS.
I like watching
love
the
that
games
sort of stuff.
download and them dropping the orbs
I
in
love the
there.
download animations on the Wii with the blocks or whatever.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
one too.
That's cute.
I'm trying to think. Never mind. My brain.
I'll just
blanked
list off the
fuck
rest
out.
of this and you can think about it for a second.
Yeah,
The other change with the eShop is that they are now ranking what used to be like best sellers by, it was like most downloads, or it was like the category was most popular and they would go off of downloads. Now it's best sellers and they go off of, I guess, gross income. And the idea is that it's to get around all the slop that's on the eShop, all the AI and hentai and whatnot. And listen,
Thank God. They need more curation and they need more categories to look through, if I'm being for real.
I was about to say I
I've
love
never,
hentai as much as the next
casually
guy, but I don't
browsed
know
the
if that's
eShop,
true.
honestly.
Some of them really love that
Like,
stuff.
Back
true.
in the day on 3DS and Wii U, I would casually browse the eShop because it was so curated and like there were really good genre sections and like sections for new releases that were big. But now it's just like you go on the eShop and it's like hentai fucker 9000
Yeah.
HD edition.
There
and
was
it's like
one-
an AI
Mario
art.
Mario Tennis Aces and Hentai Fucker 9000.
And it'll be
HD
like in the
edition.
top 10 best
Like, thanks.
sellers. There was one example of that happened to me on stream when I looked at it, because it was like, oh, it was in the deals category. It was like, oh, what's on sale right now? And that one, it said like, oh, it's like $50 off. And then I checked the release date of the game, and it was the day I was streaming. So I'm like, they put this game up and immediately made it 50% off. So I feel like if they wanted people to see their hentai games, they could still like, game the system and put them in the deals category. But hopefully there's a little bit more curation, although I doubt it. And the other major change in this firmware that isn't like a feature aspect is just the changing of icons. They changed the shading a little bit on a lot of the Mario characters and replaced the old Rareware DK with the new modern DK in the icon section. And the bag art, I understand people drawing vent art about the eShop bag because they don't have that orange color anymore. That's a good bit of fun. But the people, I have seen so many being like, man, this new Donkey Kong, it's just not the same. And they're right, it isn't the same, but I think it's better.
Okay, listen. I like new Donkey Kong and old Donkey Kong.
Yeah.
My problem lies with the fact that they changed profile pictures that people are already using.
They got rid of the
Same.
old one.
Like they just straight up, like, if you were using the old Rareware Donkey Kong profile picture, it's not there anymore.
Mhm.
One day
Yeah.
a kid is gonna wake up and Donkey Kong is gonna look different, and they have no say in it. They have no say if they want to use the old one, which is hilarious. Which is hilarious because old Donkey Kong is still relevant. They literally just re-released like Donkey Kong Country Returns on the Switch.
They're
Like,
gonna
this just
release a
happened.
secret update for that game, and they're gonna change his design on the box art and his face. Also,
I
It's just-
kind of
it's
hate how
weird.
Luigi has his mouth open. It's like flies are gonna fly in there.
Close your
or some
mouth,
shit
whore.
that.
I
There's
just
people.
wish that they gave us new profile pictures instead of retroactively changing people's profile pictures that they probably like for their icons.
They're trying to erase history.
They're trying to erase history, but
They're
whatever.
trying. The liberals are trying to tear down statues of Rareware Donkey Kong.
at the end of the day, it doesn't really mean that much in the grand scheme of things. It just makes me a little bit sad to like that like old DK is kind of like retroactively being changed.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't it I love new DK.
Yeah,
I do.
And they
I
still
think the
use
new design
old
is
DK
really cool.
at the theme park, do they not?
For now, yes, but that might be changing.
He's gonna get assassinated.
He might be assassinated. Like again, I really don't mind. I just like the idea of retroactively changing someone's profile picture without their consent is so insane.
They should change
Like,
it to an entirely different character.
Interestingly, though, I'm looking at my Switch friends right now, and one of my friends has a Donkey Kong profile picture that's still the old one. But I imagine the day he tries to change it, he's not going to be able to change it back. And that kind of that kind of bums me out. Like, it's like, dude, come on, let him have his like old school Donkey Kong.
Yeah, and like easiest thing that they could have done is if you select one of the new profile pictures that there's just an option for an alternate version. Like they could have done that, but they didn't. They just changed it. They changed the original data of the profile pictures, which is
Swap out
whatever.
That PNG.
They changed all the designs. They just well, they didn't rather. They changed the other Mario characters and like changed the shading a little bit.
The renders. They updated the renders a little bit. But Donkey Kong is just a different dude.
They took the old guy out back.
They changed like the 2D art too. So I think Yoshi's icon, like the scales were moved back a little bit and stuff like that. And that's like approaching like Mandela effect shit, where if you don't know about it, you might look at it and be really uncomfortable because it looks weird and different, but you're not sure what it is. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like if I didn't know about the Yoshi scales changing and I looked at the icon, I would have gotten uncomfortable.
They'd put you in a padded room. Well, while we still have Salty for this last section, do you want to, because we were going down the timeline of events, and the reason we wanted a guest on this is because we didn't both get a pre-order last time. Do you want to explain how did the pre-order for the Nintendo Switch 2 go for you?
The pre-orders were a mess. Like I was under the impression that they were like things were going to be a little bit easier this time around, and they were going to like, you know, circumvent a lot of scalpers and stuff. They did not do that whatsoever. It was the same as it always was with every console release. Same as it ever was. But yeah, no, it literally was just, it was bad. It was very bad.
Yeah.
I had to stay up almost all night. I had to get a Target account, Best Buy account, Walmart accounts, which was the worst.
Which ones you get? Which set you get?
I think I ended up getting it from Walmart, if I'm remembering correctly.
Do you have a physical pickup? Because mine's supposedly going to be delivered on the 5th, and I wanted to go in physical
pickup.
Yeah, I didn't have an option for that, so I guess I wanted to do the midnight release. You know, I want to wait in the line. I think that's fun.
Yeah, I kind of wanted to do that too, but it just sucks.
But you do have the physical pre-order, right?
I got it from Best Buy.
Okay.
Best Buy. Yeah, Best Buy. Sorry, I went and I checked to make sure, but it was Best Buy. I was in the queues for all of them.
Mm-hmm.
I had the Nintendo Switch 2 in my cart at Target for 3 hours, and I was trying to check out and it wouldn't let me, but it said that I had it in my cart, and then randomly they just took it out. And I was like, okay, I'm definitely not getting it now.
They actually didn't have any Switches.
But I was able to, like, I was literally gonna quit. I was gonna be like, well, there are probably no more Switches at this point, because it looked like they sold out within like a single minute on all retailers, but that was just because the servers got so backed up with people ordering. But I was able to sit in a queue at Best Buy for like 2, maybe 3 more hours. And I was actually able to check out, which was exciting. And, you know, I was able to get the edition that had Mario Kart bundled in. So, you know, at the end of the day,
that's the one
I have at least one game to look forward to.
So are you going to pick it up, or is it delivering to you directly?
I'm picking it up. Yeah, I'm picking it up at Best Buy, a Best Buy near me.
Are you getting it on the day, or are you gonna do like as soon as it becomes midnight, you're gonna go get it?
I don't know, because like the thing is that Deltarune also launches on that day, and like my plan is to like stream chapters 3 and 4 as soon as possible. Right. So my idea is probably I'm going to go pick it up, but then I will not play it until I finish with Deltarune chapters 3 and 4, and then I will probably
playing this thing until they release a new game for it.
Yeah, literally, I'm like, oh my god, fucking Tony Foxington, you're really busting my balls on the Nintendo Switch release day. I can't even enjoy my Nintendo Switch 2. I gotta stream.
Also,
but I am excited
Phineas
about
and
it.
Ferb season 7, I think.
It's
big day.
Cartoons.
People forget that Pikmin 4 came out the same day as Barbie and Oppenheimer. All right, but there's a cross release. Much to do.
Pikmin Barbenheimer.
I always pick man. But that's where I land on. It said like it'll come as early as it can on June 5th. And I'm preparing to do like a big stream that day, like streaming all day, but most of it might just be me waiting by the door hoping they deliver it. I mean, it should get to me. It says on the 5th. I can only hope. I really wanted to wait in line at midnight, you know, like they used to back in the day. But I think that world doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah,
we don't know how to build it anymore.
Yeah, midnight releases. Well, I was under the impression because you've seen all like or maybe I just watched those old videos of people like in line for these midnight releases. I'm like, man, I would always love to do that for a console. But even like the Wii, like that sold out really quickly too.
Yeah, no,
that was like impossible to find for a while.
All things considered. I mean, I had trouble finding a Switch. Like it's these things. There's a lot of hype around and there's a lot of demand. So I think it's hard to like ever really have enough for everybody. But you know, I think people often do have the habit of treating a certain launch of a console as obscene or really, really bad. But you know, I kind of think back to myself. I mean, as you said in this stream, like the N64 launched with 2 games.
Yeah.
So I think on some level, you know, I think every console launch is gonna have these kinds of annoying parts to it, and it's, you know, it's not worth getting too kind of worked up about. At least that's what I told myself when I realized I wasn't going to get a Nintendo Switch 2.
Or if I'm going to stream all that day anyway, we can get you out here and we can do a live episode of Switch 2 Ultra.
I'm genuinely thinking of it. Switch 2 Ultra Live, yeah.
The only way. Well, okay. Salty, going into this, you said you had about 2 hours. That'll be done before 8. Does that mean you got to go now?
Probably got to start wrapping up in a little bit, yeah.
All right, no worries. I don't have a lot more to say about the Switch. The final segment I was going to do was opening up my 2025 consumption tier list and talk about the things I did or the things I've watched thus far over the weekend. But it doesn't really involve the Switch 2, so it's really just a matter if you want to stick around for that segment or not.
Yeah, I can stick around for a little bit.
All right, let me move over to there. Let's see if this is the correct screen. Oh, I got to put Salty over here, actually.
Oh, yeah, Salty isn't there yet.
And now he's disappeared. All right, hold on. Let me get you. I got him. Salty, what's your opinion on Nintendo?
I think it's gay.
Dude, they're going to release the Nintendo Shit Cube again.
Yeah, they're going to release the Nintendo Shit Cube.
The internet.
Pingus Cube.
The Pingus Cube? Come on, man.
I remember watching that video when I was like 7.
Show some decorum. The Pingus Cube, really? We have a guest. Come on, man.
Yeah,
really? The Pingus Cube?
I actually don't know. Now that I'm looking at this, I don't think that I can really give any input on a lot of these. Because...
Oh, don't worry. I've been steamrolling these segments anyway. Okay. I mean, this is the list I had last week that I now need to update because there are some films I forgot. Which is, I can explain all these. I will say, though, if you guys have if anything on this list, one, Sinners is already at the top of my list. I would recommend if you go to a theater, if you have a theater near you, go see Sinners as soon as you can while it's still in theaters. That's a fantastic movie. And I think it's already going to be the best thing this year, at least for me. I'm locking that in. Okay. I'm still haven't finished Abbott Season 4, Goosebumps Season 2, Stugo, Chibiverse Season 3, Moon Girl Season 2, Daredevil, Jellystone, Last of Us Season 2, and The Rehearsal are airing still, and Andor is also still airing. But I will say, I don't know if either of you guys have watched any of The Rehearsal, either Season 1 or 2. I did not think anything could top Season 2. Like, I sat up in my chair, Episode 2. I sat up in my chair last week when watching Episode 2. And I didn't think they could. I thought it was just gonna, it was gonna ebb and flow. But each episode has been more insane than the last. And The Rehearsal, Episode 3, caused audible gasps in the chat I was watching it in the call.
Okay, dude, I think I'm gonna save it for my flight on Wednesday.
Are you still talking about The Rehearsal?
The Rehearsal, yes.
Yeah,
I would not watch the
I need
rehearsal on
to-
a flight. Or season
Why?
2. The crux of
I
season
watched-
2 is Nathan Fielder has realized that there is a commonality between most air disasters, like airplane crashes, is that the secondary co-pilot doesn't have the confidence to speak up to the captain, and that's why airplanes crash. So most of the season thus far has been trying to facilitate rehearsals for co-pilots to boost their confidence and speak up to their superiors. And it begins with a lot of
okay.
plane crashes. Because I was also supposed to fly right after watching episode 1, and
I
my
probably
wife asked me to
wouldn't
turn
give a
it
shit.
off.
I probably wouldn't give a shit, but I think I'd make other people on the plane uncomfortable.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny.
Hey, you guys
I
seeing
got
this?
I got into certain shows on the plane.
Yeah,
So for example,
that's when I watch most
I was
TV.
like, I was like, oh man, you know, I'm gonna try and binge Invincible on the plane because I've never gotten around to watching that show. And I'm like watching it, and then suddenly, like, you know, someone's like fucking head gets like hit off, and like you see the gore and shit. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna
There
like bring
was
bring
one
my screen a little
flight.
closer to
It
me.
was either
and like lower the brightness a little bit.
It was either 2 VidCon or 2 TwitchCon that the new season of House of the Dragon was going to come out, and the new A Quiet Place movie was going to come out. So I'm like, okay, I'll watch the A Quiet Place movies and House of the Dragon season 1. And the first episode of House of the Dragon and A Quiet Place, which I watched before the first episode, both have like very graphic birthing scenes. So whoever was sitting next to me must think like, oh, this guy just really likes watching women give birth, because it's all I was watching on the plane.
It's funny because I was watching a movie on a flight back from London, and like there were like boobs in the movie, and
That's
I was thinking
crazy.
to myself, like, this wasn't on my iPad. This was like on the like airline offered kind of you know, screen thing.
Mhm.
Some airlines still have that, and I'm like saying, so I'm like according to the airline, I'm allowed to watch this. I'm allowed to see these boobs, and there's nothing anyone can do about it.
Right. They
And I'm
put
just
it
thinking
in
about-
front of me.
I still don't want to look at it and be the guy looking at boobs on the freaking plane.
You were shaking
But
your head the whole
this-
time, so everyone knows you
this show-
disagree.
yeah, I had to like shake my head and tell everybody like I'm not
This
watching it
shit's
for the
gross.
boobs, you know.
But
like-
the movies I saw the weeks prior to not going to the theater anymore, Opus and Last Breath. Opus is, I already said this on my letterbox, is pretty, it's not a bad movie, but it's very derivative. It's like if you wanted someone who doesn't make A24 movies, you're like, hey, make an A24 movie for us. It's kind of that. It's a lot of, I walked out of it and I turned to my roommate and said like, man, that was just Midsummer. And then he walked out of it and turned to me and said like, man, that was just The Menu. I like Iowa Debris. It's like, I don't know, maybe bottom of B, maybe? Maybe above Woke Spider-Man. No. I'll put it bottom of B. I think that's fair. Last Breath 2025 is an adaptation or a remake of a documentary by the same name that came out like 3 years prior. It's about this dude that gets like stuck at the bottom of a trench with only like 20 minutes of air. But this is again like a remake with Hollywood actors by the same name. So it's almost like they got a documentary and like yassified it. It's the most comparable thing I can compare it to is, you know, at the end of Chicken Little, the Disney Chicken Little, where there's like an action movie where it's telling the story, but they're all like ripped action stars. It's basically that. It's this documentary, but they're like, oh, what if this character was played by
Avatar?
Yeah, and I'm not even saying this to be mean, but like then in the ending bit of the movie, they cut to the real footage, and he looks like a schlubby guy. He's got like a receding hairline, but he's played by like a Hollywood actor in the movie where they make them all look, you know, like studs. I'll put it, I guess, above Captain America, the Red Hulk. However, the main movie I saw, basically what I've done since we last spoke on this podcast is I finished the base game of Monster Hunter Worlds, and I saw the Thunderbolts. And I think Monster Hunter will go mid B, maybe I'll put it higher. Maybe I'll put it at the bottom of A, probably, because it might be I think for me, it's going to be a Pokemon Sword and Shield situation where it's my first Monster Hunter. So because it's a Monster Hunter game with all the Monster Hunter mechanics, I really liked it. But what I've heard is longtime Monster Hunter fans are like, man, this one sucks. Like this is the worst one. It removed a lot of features. But like Sword and Shield, because it's my first one, I'm like, man, the Monster Hunter rules. And maybe it does.
Yeah.
But that's where it is for me. Yeah, bottom of A is fine. But the Thunderbolts... it's simultaneously like excited for it. Whenever it comes to Marvel movies, it's a constant slate of it's so over to we're so back. But now that we're closer to like the major, like the next big Marvel crossover thing, like I don't know if either of you guys were really into like Infinity War and Endgame when they were happening.
Oh, I was.
Oh, I was like obsessed at the time.
Like I'm so emotionally attached to these characters that and there have been good movies since then. Like I really like Guardians 3, I really like Wakanda Forever. And again, it's like constantly like it's over, we're so back. Whenever there's one good one, it's like, oh shit, the MCU is back. But this one does legitimately feel, because there's only, you know, it's this and then Fantastic Four, which I'm optimistic about, and then Doomsday, that we're like gearing up for something that I am like allowing myself to get a little excited and giddy about the MCU again, which I didn't think would happen. Yeah. But I have also inversely seen a lot of people say like, oh, like they're marketing it as such, or before the marketing campaign was spoiling the movie. The marketing campaign was like, this is like the A24 of Marvel movies. We got Florence Pugh and this director and cinematographer. And I had a friend that said like, oh, people are saying this is the A24 of Marvel movies. I don't even know what that means. I think people just equate quality to a distributor because they like A24 movies. And granted, so did I, but I don't think that's necessarily a mark of quality. But Thunderbolts is a good MCU movie. And this is coming from someone who likes most MCU movies. But I think it's a disservice to say it's like a fantastic movie up there with some of the best. It's a really good Marvel movie. So I think I'll put it... maybe above Wolfman? That's probably fair, but beneath Star of Providence. All the other shows on the bottom I have not finished yet, so this, as of now, is my 2025 consumption list. And now it'll get easier. Every subsequent week I will talk about the new episodes of Andor, because I've been watching The Last of Us in the rehearsal. I'm caught up with. I'm watching the new episodes as they come out, whereas Andor, they did the annoying thing where it's like, oh, 3 episode premiere and then 2 episodes the next week. No, I'm watching this week by week. I watched the first episode of Andor season 2, so I will have more things to say about those shows as I'm watching them. But right now it's just a movie a week, and the Thunderbolts is... The more I'm looking at it, the more I'm like, maybe that's too high. I'll put it beneath Wolfman and above Dogman. Kind of crazy, I know. The more I think about Wolfman, the more I dislike it. Anyway, that has been my ranking. I have been your co-parent, BHultra.
I have been your co-parent, Switchy.
I want to argue real quick. See better movies. You got to see Thunderbolts Asterisk in theaters, and then also see Sinners. Yeah. And our special guest here tonight.
Oh, it's me, Saltydkdan. That's me.
Do you have any closing remarks?
I like video games, and I like to drink fruit punch.
You genuinely pissed me off. Hashtag Bompilda for N64 Online. Spread the word. At Reggie. It's so dumb, it's good. I don't know if it is. I think there are some movies that are so bad. Okay, but still, it wouldn't... If it was so bad that it's good, it still would be an F, even if I enjoyed it. Gonna watch Sinners. I'm proud of you, Peter. And this has been Switch to Ultra. I'm gonna play the little outro song that Salty specifically suggested. He said, you gotta play Pumpkin Hill, man. I love that song. And I'm like, okay, man. If
I did not say that. I said
you tied me up to a
Herd,
chair and said, play Pumpkin Hill. I'm like,
I
okay.
did not fucking say that.
So if you guys have any complaints about the song he picked,
if you don't like Pumpkin Hill, send it to Salty directly.
I literally said Meteor Herd.
You said listen to Pumpkin Hill. All right, guys. It was nice talking to you. I'm gonna hang up so I could do this outro. Thank you so much for joining us. Oh, nice beginning and ending. Later.
Bye.
I should have had the song queued up better. You guys like Pumpkin Hill? Oh, also, if you're a fan of Saltydkdan and you watch the stream for him, I'm BHultra on BHultra Live. I'm going to be streaming tomorrow at 1 to 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, both Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. I'm going to be playing Chibi Robo on the GameCube tomorrow, continuing it. So, you know, if you like me, if you thought I was funny, I doubt it. I would stick around for that. Thanks so much for the follows.
This probably seems crazy, a graveyard theory. Our ghosts try to approach me and got leery. Ask him a question and he vanished in a second. I'm walking through valleys, crying pumpkin in the alley. Didn't seem happy, but they sure tried to get me. Had to back him up with a fist metal crackle. I'm hearing someone saying you a chicken, don't be scared. It had to be the wind, cause nobody wasn't there. I searched and I searched as I climbed up the wall. And then I started to fly, I went in deeper. Let it get to me, I'm just gonna creep. Hell, I got to find my lost peace. I know that it's here, I sense it in my feet. The great emerald's power allows me to feel. I can't see a thing, but it's around somewhere. I gotta hold my head, I have no fear. It probably seems crazy, a graveyard theory. A ghost try to approach me, he got leery. I'm just gonna creep down in Pumpkin Hill. I got to find my lost peace. I know that it's here, I can sense it in my feet. The great emerald's power allows me to feel. I can't see a thing, but it's around somewhere. I'm gonna hold my head, cause I have no fear. This probably seems crazy, a graveyard theory. Our ghosts try to approach me and got leery. Ask him a question and he vanished in a second. I'm walking through valleys, crying pumpkin in the alley. Didn't seem happy, but they sure tried to get me. Had to back him up with a fist metal crackle. I'm hearing someone saying you a chicken, don't be scared. It had to be the wind, cause nobody wasn't there. I searched and I searched as I climbed up the wall. And then I started to fly, I went in deeper. Let it get to me, I'm just gonna creep. Down Pumpkin Hill, I got to find my lost peace. I know that it's here, I sense it in my feet. The great emerald's power allows me to feel. I can't see a thing, but it's around somewhere. I gotta hold my head, I have no fear. It probably seems crazy, a graveyard theory. A